Welcome, everyone. This is your friend, the DN What If, here with another exciting fanfiction. Today, we're diving into the story of What If Deku Was the Hero Community's Secret Cryptid? If you enjoy this video, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more fanfiction content just like this. Now, let's get started with the fanfic. He was pretty much as well known as All Might by this point. The green-haired boy. Midori they called him. He was at all hero fights, taking notes, cheering them on and watching them with awe. He'd even tune into present mix radio show and offered up analysis on the fights from days or even hours before, all with insightful knowledge not befitting a young middle schooler, but they were impressed. But they never had the chance to speak to him, since he always vanished into the crowd and left without a trace. Some were skeptical and wanted to know what was in those notebooks, and Eraserhead was one of those who took action to find out. He'd snuck into the boys' room, impressed at the sheer number of hero merch, top ground and underground, and grabbed one of 11 notebooks that spoke about heroes. At least he assumed. The kid wrote in FANG code and for the life of him he couldn't crack it. So he took some photos and went to Nizu with it, placing everything back in its place before leaving. Be it as it may, the dog, mouse, bear thing was impressed and was unable to decipher the code, coming to the conclusion that the boy made it up himself and that he was the only one who could read it. So Eraserhead went back to get either the mother or boy's info when he felt fear course through him. On the boy's desk was one of the older books with the note. You can take this one to look at. This is when I first began to develop my code. I like heroes, so that's why I write in code, just in case. I hope you find this one informative. Have a nice day, Eraserhead. It was cutesy and had bunnies on it, and he knew that the underground hero was the one to grab it the first time. Looking around he cursed when he saw a small camera and then realized of course the kid would have one. Those notebooks were like his freaking Bible. Opening the book he balked at an Eraserhead entry and saw in newly written ink, Eraserhead Analysis 1.0. Does that mean the newer ones are better, updated versions? Then where were they? Looking around he opened the closet and gaped at the safe there and moved to open it before seeing the brand. Demon, how much had the kid spent on it? Those notebooks must be really important then. Looking closer he noticed more locked manually drilled into the door of the safe, at least 3 others. Holy shit. These are so good. And it's only 1.0, Present Mike screeched, the others ignoring him in favor of reading their own entries. They had called all the heroes who was in the book the boy offered, ranging from Night Eye to Fat Gum. Hawks had joined, the 19-year-old having seen the green head multiple times and attempting to talk to him, but he'd been evaded every single time. This kid is so smart, Tensei, or the turbo hero Ingenium gushed. I remember seeing him and then being pounced on by Edge Shot, the hero in question glaring at the other before going back to his own papers, on if I managed to speak to him. Kid's like a cryptid or something. Impressive, and the state of the writing leads me to believe that he was around 6 or 7. Night Eye sighed as he placed the book down, the analysis having been rewritten due to the messy kanji. I may have seen him a few times as well. He's one smart cookie, Selkie smiled, Gang Orca looking down at the paper contemplative. And I tried to speak to him once, but he was either distracted or more interested in the conch shell he found. He had good ideas on techniques for utilizing my quirk, best Jeanist observed, leaning back as he looked through that section. Even I couldn't think this stuff up. He's how old now? He's going to be a first-year middle schooler. He might need specialized schooling, Nizu offered, a bit miffed he didn't have an entry, but with how many he attempted to fit into one journal it was safe to assume he did have one in another journal. Somewhere. He's far too intelligent if he wrote this at 7. You going to tutor him? Eraserhead asked, looking down from his own analysis. He will say that he had seen the boy once or twice at the beginning of his patrol, the kid waving at him from the ground as he rested on the top of buildings. He's perceptive. Hiding a camera directed not into his whole room but at his desk where the notebooks are. Only a few are out at a time. I saw he had a safe and the keys were missing. He is one prepared kid, Hawks gaped. And he's so cute. Snipe came in with a knock, looking a bit sheepish as one can get from a masked hero. We got a problem, he coughed as more heroes came in. You have Midori's notebook, was the main statement yelled as they came into the rather large meeting room. Did you talk to him? Was second. Did you get the email? Nizu asked Eraserhead calmly. His mother's or his? Both, but I would prefer the boys. Nizu smiled and the room became deathly quiet as all eyes turned to them. Here. He handed the principal a slip of paper. Good, I'll contact him now and hopefully he'll be here sometime this week to take an IQ test before the school year starts. That was code for clear up your schedule for next week. Now was the time to finally meet the kid who was the cryptid of the hero community. Nizu was impressed at how fast each whipped out their phones to call the government or other heroes who'd seen the boy. By the way, the newbie who was rising fast in popularity, Calmy Woods, began. What is his name? Everyone became silent once more and turned to Eraserhead. Even Nizu didn't know his name. Midoriya, he said, many gaping as they realized their nickname wasn't too far off from his real name. Midoriya Izuku. Izuku. 4 days on and the heroes mulled over the name, unsure if they call him out or go out looking for him. Not that they needed to in all they really needed to do was go to a hero fight and look around. Chances are they would find him, nose stuffed in that notebook, writing notes down on their quirks and the villains with the same amount of enthusiasm as ever. But they managed to refrain from doing that. But it was hard. They finally had a name to the face they all knew and desperately wanted to speak to him. Present Mike nearly sent them all into cardiac when he nearly called Midoriya, who called himself Mikuin, his name on his show. Needless to say that but kicking he got was enough to make he cancel his show until Midoriya took his test. He had responded nearly 30 minutes later, Nizu posing as a college professor who had seen Midoriya's test scores, and the boy was so sweet even through email. Unfortunately, if Nizu wanted to fully take him out of school, he'd need to take a physical to see if he was qualified in that aspect. So that they cleared up the day he was supposed to come in and waited for the day they could watch him and make a training regiment in exchange for tips on their quirks. Best Jeanist was the only one to have a special little experience 2 days before Izuku was scheduled to be there for his test. Or horrific. You can decide. It was nothing more than a routine patrol with his newest sidekick by his side. Both conversing on Izuku, as the sidekick had seen him in 3 fights the last 2 days and wanted to ask his mentor about the kid. Suginu assured him that you get used to the green-haired fluff ball at hero fights and come to expect him, and if he's not at yours chances are he's at another. They had been walking when an explosion went off as a man with an oil quirk and another with a flicker quirk began to blow up vendors' stalls. Best Jeanist cursed as he used his fibers to pull the people back, calling out for some other heroes to get on the scene as his sidekick used illusions to distract him. It was just his luck that Endeavor of all people showed up. Don't get him wrong, the second best hero is good and all for fighting, but this man had a FING oil quirk. Unless this was a different world, fire and oil make an even bigger boom. His sidekick yelped as Endeavor rushed to the villains, screeching in pain as the flames burned away at his costume and into his flesh. He'd need to go to the burn unit for sure and his suit caught on fire. Stop, drop and roll, Jeanist yelled as the flames grew, his sidekick in fear and pain as fire obscured his vision. Here. That voice. Suddenly his sidekick was drenched with water as Midoriya Izuku threw a bucket of it on him, managing to put out the flames. The other nodded as he fell to his knees and gasped in both shock and panic. Thank you, Jeanist gasped, coming to kneel beside the burned hero. Are you all right? Yeah kid, watch it, he screamed as a column of flames shot toward the young boy, Endeavor's punch being redirected. The hero merely huffing before heading back out to fight. Izuku, as any child, froze in pure fear at the fire came hurling at him, Best Jeanist wasting no time in unleashing his quirk and pulling him into his embrace, uncaring of the tear stains on his shirt. You can cry out, it's all right, he swallowed. I've got you. The fight was ended pretty quickly after that. Jeanist, in no mood to have it drag out longer, focused all his energy in manipulating the clothes of both of them, making them stumble to the ground right before the police. He ignored Endeavor's yelling as the paramedics came and hauled his burned, but smiling sidekick away. When Jeanist raised a brow, the other merely pointed to a shaking Izuku and gave another smile. Are you hurt? Jeanist asked, kneeling down to be face to face with him. My skin feels warm, but I wasn't burned, he shyly admitted. Let's get some cooling pads on the area, he sighed, leading the boy that way. And thank you for putting out Hiro-kun. I was unable to do anything and well he did as anyone else would while being burned alive. That bucket was right there and he was screaming so loud that I needed to do something, he murmured, Jeanist before sighing and ruffling his hair and marveling at its softness. Thank you once more. Oh, of course, Izuku nodded, Suginu resisting the urge to hug the boy once more. Sita, can I get your autograph? Of dash. Jeanist. Got him. Yes, endeavor, he sighed. And mind keeping the flames off. You almost burned both my sidekick and this boy, he snarled. They shouldn't have been in my way, he snapped. They weren't. You couldn't contain those villains and your fire went out of control again, he hissed, pushing Izuku gently behind him. It wouldn't do him well to have Endeavor recognize him, because he has made his displeasure of the number two's actions well known, and it was by sheer luck that Naomasa managed to stop him from getting the boy's address. Stop making excuses. You dash. Why am I not surprised? Naomasa sighed as he came forward. Endeavor, most of this damage is your fault and… Can you get home? He turned to Izuku, the boy nodding before smiling and handing his book. Jeanist took it with a huff before signing his name with a flourish. Be careful. Thank you best Jeanist, sir. Of course. He bit his tongue to not say Izuku's name. He watched as the boy left, already thinking about how he would gloat to the others. And gloat he did. A week later, Edgeshot and Eraserhead stood side by side as they looked at the school where sources said that Izuku Midoriya was often at. They still had yet to tell the boy one who would be picking him up and where his IQ test actually was but semantics. They also learned the only reason he actually accepted the IQ test was out of curiosity, but said he had no ride as his mom worked the evening shift on the day he was free. Many heroes were quick to offer up services, wanting to finally speak with the kid, but Edgeshot and Eraserhead were chosen. One because of their calm demeanor and two because Izuku already saw Eraserhead. There was only about a month left in school before they would have some time off and then begin their new experience in middle school. School was let out an hour ago and 3 boys were waiting at the gate, presumably for Izuku as they spoke of him. At least he walks home with friends, Edgeshot sighed, smiling as the young kids talked about some heroes that they loved, All Might being very prominent. Though, for whatever reason the ever-stoic and logical heroes could not explain the clenching in their gut as they watched a blonde with red eyes. His sneer made them tense up and his flexing fingers had Eraserhead reaching for his capture weapon, waiting for him to explode. The sound of footsteps had him looking up from his gaze on the blonde. Look, Eraserhead pointed, the boy, Izuku, coming up with a depressed gait and a limp. His face, Edgeshot immediately got up. And dot in his arm. The boy's left side was swollen and turning a purplish color, his was limping and his arm was covered in bandages. The 3 boys noticed him and went to him, the 2 heroes believing them to comfort the boy until they heard the words exchanged. Oi Deku, the blonde, the leader it seemed, sneered as he went to Izuku. Deku? Why yes Kaken, he whimpered. Yes there's something you need? Seems like the nurse couldn't heal a useless wimp like you, he laughed. Or wouldn't considering that would mean touching a quirkless freak like you. Oh no. We make our way slowly, Eraserhead murmured, nodding. That's not true, Izuku sniffed, stepping back as the other slammed a fist into his hand and an explosion went off. I just didn't want to take up too much of her time. Sure, the boy laughed, the other 2 mocking Izuku. Sure you did. Just admit no one wants you and give up that stupid fucking dream of being a quirkless hero. 'Cause I'ma be number 1 inch. I won't. I have to have hope Kaken. The other sounded more impassioned and the 2 heroes believed him. After all, they relied on their brains, Eraserhead more so, but Edgeshot was actually trained in the ways of the shinobi. I will be a symbol. Just like All Might. I will be the symbol of hope. The 2 heroes actually smiled at that. What you're saying is really, the other panted, his hands flexing. That was the hero's only warning. But they weren't fast enough. Is really pissing me off. You shitty do you? He roared, punching Izuku on the right side of his face with an explosion going off. They froze for a single moment, fear making their hearts clench as Izuku, the boy in which cheered them on and talked about them so lovingly that was sent flying. They could see his right side was reddening and his right lip busted open. Both pros flinched at the crack his body made as it hit the wall of the school gate and tensed at his choked gasp of pain. His eyes killed them. They were like prisoner of war eyes, one that was resigned to their treatment and the fact that it was now their life. Eyes of a broken man whose pride had been stripped and he had nothing to live for. It was not a look for a child, not a look for Izuku, to have in their eyes. The heroes wasted little time in wrapping up the boys and rushing to Izuku. "You three are never going to get close to a hero course," Eraserhead snarled. "Much less be number one," he mocked to the blonde, the boys' eyes widening as they saw Edgeshot pick up the dazed and nearly unconscious Izuku. "Izuku," the hero murmured, the boy's eyes unfocused and far away. "Izuku, I need you to stay awake. Can you do that? Izuku?" Yeah," he nodded. This isn't as bad as the other times, I'll be fine in an hour," he murmured, both heroes hearing his confession. Who are you? Get him to Recovery Girl and then tell Nizu what happened." Eraserhead tightened his grip on the boys and used his quirk on the other. "I'll stay until Naomasa gets here." "Very well," Edgeshot nodded, before rushing off. "I am going to be moving fast up, but trust me. Okay? You're a hero," he sounded so happy, head lolling against the other's chest. Yes, I am a hero." He could only hope the boy wouldn't have a freak out once he realized where he was. And that the others wouldn't have a heart attack about his condition. "He's coming here," Hawks cried out once more, the others sweat dropping but equally excited as well. "I can't believe it. I wonder if his hair is as soft as it is fluffy," Maruko gushed, the others laughing. "I know," Best Jeanist gloated, the others sneering at him as they threw paper cups at him. "Yeah. Gloat, why don't you?" Midnight pouted, crossing her arms as she stood in one of her more tamer outfits. "I was in the area, you know. You could have called." "Now why would I do that?" he huffed, leaning back as she began to go on a tirade. "I hope he brings the other notebooks and tells me the code," Nizu sighed. "It was so complex and strange, I had a difficult time grasping the basics from his old help book he had when he first developed it." Now that was some high praise. "Recover Girl," Edgeshot called as he entered, everyone jolting at the sight before them before jumping up. Izuku was lethargic and blinking slowly in his arms, head turning around from place to place, trying to figure out where he was. He was punched a few moments ago and had injuries untreated from earlier today, he explained, the heroes freezing at his bruised and burned face. Eraserhead is with his attackers at the moment. They are not getting off lightly. "Oh dearie," the old hero hobbled up and looked him over as he was placed on the couch. "Let's have a look." "'S not too bad," he slurred out. "Kaken wasn't as angry or strong today. I think it best we leave him with Recover Girl right now," Nizu said, the other heroes looking back as the boys they boy tried to defend his attacker's actions. "He's quirkless and they bully him for it. Been going on for years," Eraserhead stated as he came in. "The teacher allowed it and didn't bother to help him. He as well has been lowering test scores, so he's just be educating himself by this point." "Then an IQ test is most definitely needed," Nizu sighed. "This is not how I wanted to meet the bright young minds of the hero community." Recovery Girl entered and everyone turned to her at that moment. "He's fine. Apparently he's used to such treatment, and with the amount of scarring on his skin, I can tell you that he's been treating himself. So no IQ test today. Or for a while. I need to get that boy to a psychologist," she said. "He seems to cling to the idea that the other, the one who attacked him, is still his friend. Even defending his actions. I was able to learn that the school rewards the boys for their bad behavior and how they are very anti-quirkless, thinking about attempting to get him to leave a few years prior," Eraserhead snarled, Present Mike placing a hand on his shoulder. "They don't have a FING spot on their record, but I made sure it stuck. And Naomasa ain't letting this go either." "Good," Nizu nodded, placing his tea down. "What about Dash? Past instances?" "Oh, he's getting those on record too. That kid is never setting foot here for sure." He gave a truly villainous smile that others shared. "Well, what do we do now? If we all go to him, he'll freak," Selkie sniffed, holding a spotted seal plush he got for the kid. He like cute things. And I don't want to cause him more pain. Oh no, a soft voice spoke as a knock sounded, the door opening to reveal the bandaged boy. I was wondering if you could let me go to home. He trailed off at the various heroes in the room and then whispered. It wasn't a dream. Hawks decided to be the brave idiot he was. Hello, Dash. Ah, he screeched, the others jumping at the screech before the closest hero, best Jeanist, went to grab him as he went limp and fell to the ground. Well, that went better than I expected, Eraserhead sighed. At least he didn't have a heart attack. His arms, best Jeanist murmured, more to himself than everything. They couldn't help but look, and then wish they didn't see all those criss-cross scars. When Izuku came to, he was warm and assumed that he was in his own bed, until he opened his eyes and noticed that he was in another place entirely, and the reality came crashing down. He was in an office with some of Japan's best heroes all here. Deadshot and Eraserhead came for him for some reason, and there was Recovery Girl. How are you feeling now? A happy voice asked, Izuku turning to see the intelligent hero. Nizu-san, he gasped, bolting up before lurching forward in pain. Careful. You're still in pretty rough shape. The mouse, bear, dog thing sighed as he jumped up on the bed and placed a paw on the other's shoulder. Lay down. I will sit right beside you. Oh, would you like a plushie? He handed Izuku a spotted seal plush. Thank you, he nodded, hugging the plushie. I am wondering, Dash, why you're here? That got a nod. Well, Eraserhead and a few of the more cautious heroes were worried about the notebooks you often wrote in and went to go steal one. Imagine our surprise when you wrote in your own created code. When you left an earlier one out, we were so surprised at how well thought out and detailed it was. Oh, that they're not really impressive, Dash. And you call into mix shows so often with the same analysis? Nizu smiled at the boy's blush. Given your intelligent responses, I want to give you an IQ test. Really? He gasped. More complex work? You're excited. To be honest, things taught in school are too easy and I kinda get bored easily, so, he shrugged. Once you're all healed in about a day or so, you can take it. Should they be what I assume they are, you'll be my personal student, Nizu proclaimed. What? No way, he gasped, a smile breaking out on his face. Why, you teach me. A quirkless, nobody, his voice became small and Nizu smiled sadly. You know, your analysis could pass off as a quirk if you don't feel comfortable, but I know many heroes who essentially fight quirkless. Like Dash. Eraserhead, Sir Night Eye and Midnight, he said. Then in America, many heroes are quirkless too, due to anti-discrimination laws. And they do well for themselves. Indeed, Nizu got up. I have some heroes who wish to speak to you about your analysis. If you are applicable, then Dash. Oh, of course. Also, do you have my phone? He asked, the mouse handing him the item after fishing it out of his pocket. Thank you, Dash. Izuku, the boy jolted at the other's tone of voice. Your defense of the boy was concerning to us as well. Kak and Dash. Please, the principal sighed, the others shrinking at the tone. You need help. Mentally. And I know that this is hard for you, but that boy, he is not your friend. He hasn't been in a long, long time. You need help getting past this destructive friendship. Will you see a psychologist friend of mine? I want your intelligence hindered by this. Ask my mother, he asked, eyes wide and ready to burst with tears. See, 'cause I'm a minor? Very well, he conceded. The boy deflated before looking at his phone. Your mother called and left you a voicemail, by the way, he told the boy before heading out. At least he agreed to it. Somewhat. Can I, please? Selkie begged after Nizu told them. Please. He tried to act cute, despite his rather large appearance. I really want to talk to him. Now way. Naruko whined. I wanna. No, Hawk squeaked out. Me. I have been waiting for ages for this chance. I can drop him off home. A la flying. He sounded so proud. Pardon, the boy spoke through all the yelling, still holding onto the plush, Selkie about ready to burst. My mom is being forced into 12 hours. So she's staying the night at the hospital she works at. Can point one of you drop me off once this is over? Will you call your father to let him know? Dahida he kinda left warehoused when I was diagnosed as quirkless. He gave a sad smile and Selkie burst out crying and went to hug the boy. His rather large figure rushing at Izuku made him freeze up in fear, before best Jeanist stopped the hero. Stop it, you're going to kill him, he huffed to the other as the boy was still ramrod straight and wide-eyed. And as heroes and mandated reporters, we cannot allow you, a very young minor not even in middle school, home alone. Was your mother home when you left after the attack last week? But, best Jeanist I are he struggled for words. Why yes she was but I may not have told her. Jeanist looked ready to pass out from stress, Eraserhead not far behind. I can take him, Hawks spoke up, looking excited. I am the most unsuited, edge shot and Eraserhead snapped, the three getting into a verbal match as Fat Gum came over, deflated and gave the kids a snack with a smile. We thought you'd be home by now after speaking with ya and getting you IQ test done, so we didn't buy food, he ruffled the fluffy hair as the kid looked up at him with awe. Oh, right, he deflated, Fat Gum feeling the violence-filled stares in his back. Sorry for keeping you from your duties. I don't want people to think . Stop that, Gang Orca spoke up, the boy jumping as the large humanoid orca came forward. We came because you are intelligent enough to make your own code by the first year of middle school. We came because that journal you wrote at 7 has birthed new techniques for us to use. 4. That journal I gave Eraserhead I wrote the year I found out I was quirkless. I was 4 at the time, he swallowed, looking up to the orca. So smart, Miruko gasped, bouncing up and down as the heroes took out their printed pages. Amazing! Now, Nizu smiled, one that held a bit of excitement. Now I am sure you are to be my student. Izuku merely gulped. He had nothing to be worried about, it seemed. As stated by Best Jeanist, he couldn't go home alone and he could not stay at UA where he found out he currently was at, Freakout number 3 either. So it came down to which hero would watch him for the rest of the night and potentially the weekend if Inko, the mother they had learned was called into duty again. She will, Izuku told them. They always call on her to comfort her on having a quirkless child. Mom hates it but the extra money is put into a special account for us later down the line if something bad happens. They could only sigh. I could take him to the marina. I could drop him off at home to get his things he'd need and we could go sailing. Selkie smiled as the boy went off with Fat Gum to pick up their takeout and grab his bag. It will be so fun. He still needs to get back home and come back here for his physiological exam and IQ test, Edgeshot reminded. I live close by, Calmy spoke up, indicating his place on the map they had in the room. And I have a guest room. No fair, Miruko, Hawks and Selkie whined. C. Can I spend the time with Sir Night Eye? Izuku asked as he came in carrying some food. Me? Him? I really want to know more about his quirks and everything about it, he blushed, Selkie whining as Best Jeanist held him back. I doubt if that's all right. No problem, the other side, pushing his glasses up as he continued to look through the other hero analysis that were in the journal. We'll head out once the food is gone and you got your autographs. He gave the boy a knowing look as he blushed and went to Tensei. Of course, he smiled to the boy, the others smiling back. All the heroes opted to wait for the boy to go to them, before quietly asking a question or two. They knew after today they would be seeing a lot more of him. And that made them excited. Oh, I remember that fight. You were yelling at All Might to take a different tactic, but he didn't listen, Izuku gasped. Many people don't know about that fight, but yes. Night Eye nodded as he unbuttoned his shirt slightly as they waited for Eraserhead to come back from getting the boys' things. Reporters had swarmed the entrance and going out with Izuku would not bode well. So the boy told the underground hero everything he would need and when the other notebooks came up and a key handed, the other heroes decided to extend their stay. This was one chance, and they'd be dead if they didn't take it. Izuku and Night Eye conversed about All Might fights, the two nerds getting eye rolls and scoffs as the other heroes talked about what could be in the notebooks. Best Jeanist was eyeing Izuku in a strange way. Jeanist. I have to try, he murmured, moving forward with a comb and extra-strength gel. It's been bothering me since last week. Izuku was blissfully unaware until Night Eye stopped and looked up, the boy turning to see Best Jeanist looming over him with the two items in hand. Your hair, Jeanist murmured, Izuku shaking. I need to tame it. He was shaking. Stay still. What did you do? Eraserhead demanded as Izuku was ramrod straight with pressed hair and a comb over. I tamed the beast, Jeanist looked proud. Honestly, I wanted to see if it was possible, he sighed, flexing his hands. That hair of his is also very soft and immensely fluffy. Man, it's so soft. The boy seemingly short-circuited as his head ped to the side and his right eye twitched. Selkie and Tensei didn't even bother to hide their shame in taking photos of the sight. Midnight and Present Mike began badgering their friend for the photo while Hawks and Maruko went to Selkie. Well then, Nizu clapped. I am sure the next time we can arrange this. Mayhaps 2 weeks from now? He got nods before continuing. Izuku would have taken his test and be in my intellectual care. Then he'd go over his various journals with us, he began. Now, off you go. Izuku snapped out of his shock during the explain his journals part, blushing when Night Eye nodded and then yelping as Maruko rushed over with the demands for a hug. 'Cause I finally met the cute boy who's been cheering me on since I got out of my funk, she winked. Seeing he was still struggling, she grinned. How about payment for that autograph? I get a hug from you? Oh, okay, he nodded, the women embracing him. Soon, all heroes demanded payment for their autographs, Gang Orca totally not crying when Izuku came to him for one stating that he didn't see the other as scary, just misunderstood. That was the day that Izuku's life changed forever. Izuku, the heroes had learned, was immensely smart to the point it was FNG hilarious. He scored a 162 on his IQ test, and Nizu theorized that it would only expand if given the right material and nurturement. Possibly smarter than Nizu himself. Now that was a scary thought. The groups of heroes who'd gone to meet Midoriya and others who the boy had butted in on, had come to the meeting with his mother. Something done at UA and in the same room where they all officially met the boy. They wanted to discuss the possibility of tutoring him in how to fight, as well as creating an anti-quirkless discrimination charity, with him being the face. More than once each hero has come across a quirkless child on a cliff edge, or dying in their arms because they couldn't handle it. And they couldn't imagine a day that the boy who watched their fights and spoke on Present Mix show never did those things again. He already had those scars on his arms, a testament that he was very, very close to breaking and never coming back. And the fact he was almost to that point. Well, that was an absolutely terrifying thought. Inko Midoriya, they soon learned, was just as much of a cinnamon roll as her son and bald as much as her son when Nizu offered to tutor the boy at UA, and the offer of heroes watching over Izuku when she was unable to. The heroes could only watch Ad Gang Orca and Selkie rehydrated themselves under the fountain of tears. Thank you. Inko bowed. Thank you so much. Mrs. Midoriya, we as well have concerns with Izuku and a boy named Bakugo Katsuki? Oh no, she breathed. Izuku. Her face was filled with soft accusation and disappointment. Mom, it's nothing dash. I would say punching you with his quirk is something, Eraserhead spoke up, the woman gasping as she turned to him. And then all those other incidents? You said not to worry. That you and Katsuki were working things out. That he was getting better, she accused, the boy deflating with each word she spoke. Izuku, I will call Mitsuki dash. No. Please no, he begged. I don't want Kaken to get in trouble because of me. Izuku, Nizu's voice was not happy in the slightest as he came forward and looked at the boy dead in the eyes. He is not your friend, he should get in trouble. This brings up another problem we wish to address. But dash. He needs to go to a psychologist, Miss Midoriya, he told the woman bluntly. And he will need counseling and most likely to be watched for certain tendencies. Izuku. She whimpered, the boy cowing under the gazes of the others. The boy tried to run but Edge Hot was faster and grabbed the boy before he could leave the meeting. the hero who brought him bloodied and hurt sighed as the boy looked at him desperately. Sorry, he murmured, bringing him back into the room and plopping him back beside his mother, hand firmly on his shoulder. Like I stated before. He agreed to go. Nizu gave Izuku a firm look. Should you give your consent as well? Mom, he pleaded, but her face told him everything. Do you have suggestions? She sighed. Nizu and the others sighed in relief. Izuku merely choked back a sob. But Kaken, he whimpered, Inko sighing at the deep scars her son held. Looking up at the heroes, she thought just for a moment that maybe things could change. And change they did. Izuku picked at his jacket as he was driven to his doctor's appointment by Eraserhead. Or Aizawa as he demanded to be called by the boy. His mother didn't trust herself not to cave into his begging and called around the heroes on her phone to see who was available. Still a shock to both of them that the heroes readily gave both of them their personal phones, but they didn't question it at that point. Eraserhead immediately took the job and kept an eye on the boy who looked ready to bolt at any moment. So here he was, 2 days after his mother confirmed he would go see a professional in front of all those heroes. On his way to his first appointment. You know that your mother and us are doing this all for you, he asked. We're worried and your dependence on Katsuki is not healthy. He could have killed you that day. Kaken would never jeopardize a chance to getting into a hero course by killing someone, Izuku defended, the underground hero groaning as he realized the doctor would have a lot to work with. I don't want to be a villain, but Izuku he will never be a hero. Not now or ever, he told the boy as he parked into the spot and turned to the upset boy. Says you, he whispered. Come on, Aizawa sighed. And you try to run, I will snare you up in my capture weapons. Fine, he sighed, not even bothering to be appalled by how he was acting to a pro. He really didn't want to do this. As he entered the lobby of the office building, he curled in on himself as he noticed some other heroes in there, remembering that it also functioned as a rehab center for injuries they received and counseling on anything from depression to marital issues. Hey Aizu, Miruko smiled as she came forward. I know you are not happy, she smiled, looking at his face. But we don't want you doing this anymore, she whispered, grabbing his scar-riddled arm and tenderly holding it. A few heroes who had not been able to go to the meetings gasped at the sight of his arms. I made a mistake, he murmured, looking away in shame. I wasn't gonna do it again. Aizu, Miroku sighed. You're lying to yourself and today is gonna help you see that we care for you. Please, just listen to her. Fine, he murmured, turning away from the hero fully. He really didn't want to be there. If he was actively ignoring heroes around him, he was attempting to shut himself down and Eraserhead could see that. Don't, he warned gently, grabbing his shoulder firmly before guiding him to the door. Izuku glared at the name plaque on the wall, his face the definition of defiant and unwilling as the door opened and Dr. Sakura Horikawa appeared. Hello, are you Izuku? She asked kindly, her weathered face having smile lines on both corners of her eyes and mouth. She hummed as Izuku merely stared at her and not saying a single word, Eraserhead looking annoyed and exasperated. I know how you're feeling, but let's get inside and talk about what's happened. Izuku merely went in and sat on the plush couch, looking away as Eraserhead sat beside him as Sakura sat on her own chair and grabbed her notepad. I understand that incidents have been occurring since he has been diagnosed as quirkless, she asked as gently as possible. Yes, that is what his mother told us. He nodded, Izuku curling in on himself as he spoke. And I am to understand that his best friend a Bakugo Katsuki, she turned to him for confirmation, and after a nod she continued. Turned on him and began to abuse him? As well as bully him. Kaken is not a bully. He's strong. Really strong, Izuku burst out, tears on the corner of his eyes and Sakura sighed as she realized that this is what the heroes were worried about. He was almost unnervingly loyal to such a horrid boy that wanted nothing more than to hurt him for something he couldn't control. And what is his quirk? She asked. The only way to get to the bottom of such a horrid hero worship is to understand the hero. So, Eraserhead asked as Kemui Woods entertained the boy, making flowers for the boy to create a flower crown. How bad is it? His hero worship of Bakugo Katsuki is something to be wary and careful of, the elderly woman sighed as he took off her glasses and pinched the bridge of her nose. He is adamant that Bakugo is going to be a hero. He is very defensive of him and his actions, so we have to tread carefully. There is also another factor is why he clings to him. Something serious? He has mild autism, and the only real constants in his life have been heroes, his mother and Bakugo Katsuki, she explained. He latched onto the only real constants in his life, and one of them happened to be that, she sighed once more. He needs to come back once a week until we can get him to understand, she pressed, the hero nodding before turning to the smiling boy. I'll talk to his mother. Anything else of note? He asked once more. I'll take him out of that school and watch him, she told him. On it. He nodded before turning to the two and smirking at Calmy Woods in a flower crown. 2 days later, he was back at school and subjected to his usual bullying, taunts, pranks, and all the usual stuff he is subjected to on a normal school day. But this seemed worse. He could hear them saying that he lied, that he ruined Kaken. That he would never do anything to ruin Kaken's future as a hero. Even if he might not be able to go to a hero school. Thanks to him. Izuku sniffed with unshed tears as Kaken glared at him. The past incidents and the one from a week ago were now permanently on his record. He was officially blacklisted from UA and most hero schools. Or any school in general, really. He flinched at the whispers of him being jealous, lying, and ruining Kaken's future. He didn't want to. Kaken was going to be an amazing hero. Or not. He had to be. He had the perfect quirk and everything. Excuse me, an administrator whimpered as they entered. What? Kunihiro? Izuku, Miruko called as she came in, hero costume and all. Hey, I came to pick you up from school early because your mom is working the late shift tonight and staying the night for her afternoon shift tomorrow. So you're spending the day with me today. Tomorrow I have a job I have to travel for. So you'll be with Selkie. Oh, okay, he nodded, grabbing his things quickly as Kaken began to steam, his quirk just waiting to be used. Oi, Miruko turned to Katsuki, coming forward with an annoyed face. You Bakugo Katsuki. Yeah, he huffed, leaning back. You taking me out too? In your dreams, she snarled, slamming a hand on the table. Bullies like you should never become heroes, and you never will. Good quirk or no? Bullshit. You shitty effing Deku, he turned to Izuku who yelped, before Miruko grabbed the blonde by the face and pushed him back into his seat and loomed over him. You're a disgrace, she hissed, before turning on the class and teachers. All of you are disgraces. Because he's quirkless, this type of abuse is alright? This is what the children of the next generation are being taught. Honestly. This school will be investigated after the year lets out, she snarled, the teacher yelping. Zuku, come on. Why, yes. K-. Don't, she warned softly. Don't apologize to him. They left in silence, Izuku looking back to a shaken and angry Katsuki. The rest of the day was Miruko snuggling the green boy and showing him some of her favorite movies, as well as testing the techniques he wrote in his various journals. But it seemed like a popular hero such as Miruko was not allowed such a reprieve from her job, and he was soon off to the marina sooner than Miruko would have liked. Hello, Izuku called, serious, turning to see the green head come forward with a bag. I am supposed to be with you guys until I go back to school. You must be Izuku, Sirius smiled, since Captain got to meet the kid she was stuck on being left behind. Nice to meet you. I am Dash. The marine hero. Sirius. He then blushed when she and the rest of the members burst out laughing. You're really well-informed, kid. Yeah. I am nice to meet you. This is the third in command, Sirius pointed to a buff man. We call him Mick. Hey, he smiled, the boy nodding and wondered if everyone in the Oki Mariner crew was as gant as Selkie and Mick. So you're under our care for the weekend, huh? She asked, leading him to the boat. Yeah, my mom is working more shifts now, but that's because Endeavor and All Might were in a fight together recently and the Flame Hero, he trailed off. You ain't a fan, huh? Sirius laughed. No, not really. He admitted. He really just cares for the rivalry more than he cares about being a hero. Glad to see you don't have too much hero worship, she smiled. So, you're finishing up your last year of elementary before going to be Nizu's full-time student? Yet it's only less than a month of school left, he shrugged. Might as well finish it before starting anew. A very mature way of thinking of things, Mick commented as they got onto the boat. So, you have sea legs, kid? I am not sure, he admitted, and the crew's sweat dropped. I hope I do. He didn't. Poor kid ended up throwing up after a rough bout of wind and the sea, swaying as Mick helped him inside and lay down on the couch. They might need to give him to another hero for the weekend since they were doing their routine sea patrol. It was high trafficking season with the holidays coming up and demands for drags being higher than normal. Sorry kid, Sirius sighed, patting him on the shoulder. We're going to be sailing all weekend, and with how you are right now, I think I need to go to a different agency, he nodded, miming as his stomach lurched again. Why? Yet I can't do this? Maybe next time, Sirius smiled, calling up the secondary hero that was for him to go to. Hello, present Mike sir? Izuku can't seem to handle the sea all that well, and we are off to do our sea patrols in about an hour when Captain returns. Soon Izuku was waving goodbye to a sullen Selkie, given to the third hero of the day and on the way to present Mick's radio studio. He was going to be a guest star. But why me? He asked in the car as the hero drove them through the city. Because you're as well known as me, he laughed, his voice a normal tone. On the days you didn't call, I got some calls myself from others asking about you being missing, he chuckled. Everyone pretty much tunes in to hear you and me banter back and forth. I might even make it a job so you can do part-time, he winked, laughing as Izuku blushed. That's absurd. No way that dash. Come on please, he begged the kid, smiling as he stammered before nodding. Yes. Today is going to be so awesome. What am I supposed to do? Do I help set up or dash? Don't worry, I just texted one of the guys at the studio and you should be all set up and ready to do, he winked, driving when the light went green. Doesn't your agency double as your radio station? He asked, swallowing as the building appeared in his line of sight. Yup, the best place for it really, and because of it being a radio show I get to advertise and get more money to give to myself and the sidekicks and civilian workers who work on the station, he winked. Izuku smiled, allowing himself to look around as he was led inside. Oh my gee, a woman with light purple hair and many piercing, gasped as she spotted Izuku. Mi-kun is really here. And no way, they all yelled, rushing out to see. He really is, they whispered, all giggling happily as Izuku waved. See, present Mike smiled, wrapping an arm around the boy. You're famous. I thought it strange, he admitted. Yeah, but that's what happens when you get to every hero fight possible and are always seen, he ruffled the green hair. Come on. You can fanboy over the set after our time. Oh, okay, he yelped, being ushered into a seat beside the hero who took off his jacket and managed to get his hair down. We're live in 5, 4.3. The last two were done with his fingers before he pointed to present Mike. Hello you listeners. I am present Mike and this is Put Your Hands Up radio station. Instead of our usual music and latest hero news by yours truly, I have a very special guest. You may recognize his voice and his name. Hello Mi-kun, he sang, Izuku jumping before speaking. Hello present Mike-san, he said. Ha! Formal as ever. Now I know I will be getting a ton of calls once we open up that line. But we'll be handling the questions. A bit of surprise we finally found him. But a welcome one. I was shocked too when I was suddenly pounced on by Edge Shot. Izuku chuckled, Mike silent as he waited for him to finish. I never expected heroes to hear me on this show and want to know me. But naturally, present Mike burst. You have been a loyal follower and caller since you could speak. I have always been curious about why focus on hero analysis. Heroes who believe that they can't become better or learn new techniques are not really evolving as heroes and can't become stronger because of that, he explained, more relaxed. Like you. I offered up a unidirectional attack with your speakers and you tried it, being able to subdue more villains at once. You evolved and now have more techniques in your arsenal. Yep, that's right, present Mike laughed, other giggling. I have more techniques to use and fall back on and that is wonderful. Now what heroes do you think are not evolving or becoming better? Endeavor for one, he said. He relies solely on his flames and strength. He causes a great amount of damage and injuries this way, and it's annoying and costly. He is more focused on a very one-side's rivalry between him and All Might. Which brings me to another hero that has not evolved in years. All Might. Really? He relies solely on his various smashes, based on the US and their states. While he does have many of them, and one could argue me that it's all really glorified punching. Not to say he isn't amazing or a good hero. He is that, but I feel like he should figure out more, Izuku shrugged. He's been slowing down recently, and being in his early 50s, it could be due to age. Well, you are the expert, Present Mike nodded, grinning like a madman. Hey, that you think about becoming an analyzer for heroes and villains? Giving heroes more opportunity to grow and figuring out a villain's quirk. That's a job. Yeah. So basically The listeners weren't even mad that the call in time never came. Or the following next 2 days. In Yamanashi Prefecture, an old man hummed as he listened to the boy speak, already knowing what he was going to say to the blonde buffoon. Beside him, his respected comrade went between thoughtful and appalled. I think we may have found Toshi's successor, the older man hummed, taking a bite of his fish-shaped treat. I mean that he's got some ball. You've seen him too, haven't ya? Maybe perhaps. Midoriya, Ryuka called, her fangs flashing in the light as she caught sight of Midoriya after she'd given the police her account. He must have just come from his second doctor's appointment. I told you I would tell you all about my day, she giggled, having taken him after Present Mike after he got a sudden call. So that's sorry that I was just really excited about it because you and your quirks is so amazing, he smiled, the dragon hero smiling as she ruffled his hair. Well, should be expected. You want to grab some grub before we head over to my agency? Why not? Yes, he nodded. All right then. Oh, and how has things at school been? She asked, waving off the paparazzi. All right. In Shizuoka Prefecture, Endeavor growled as he saw him on the news next to Ryuku, the dragon hero, laughing as she hugged the small boy. That annoying little piece of sheet that had the ball to dot. What was he worrying about? The boy was merely a nuisance. Izuku Midoriya. Mikun. Shaking, he closed his browser and attempted to calm his rage. That he brat, he had the gall to call him obsolete and claim that he was the problem? That kid had a FANG ball and he knew he had to show him his place. Rumor had it he was quirkless. Perhaps he should speak to him and his parents about what it means to respect a hero. Izuku sniffed as he was led into Best Jeanist's office with a swollen eye and busted lip, ignoring the hero's demands of, who did it? And look at me, Izuku. He pushed Jeanist away the moment his shoulders were gripped. What happened to your clothes? He finally asked, sighing as the boy fought him at every point. Izuku, he wanted, eyes narrowing. You either tell me what is going on and what happened this instant, or I will head back to your school and demand the CCTV footage. They tried to follow me to the car and then tried to convince me to allow them to come warehouse when I said no, he murmured, looking away in shame. Jeanist sighed as he motioned a sidekick over. Get him to medical and then get a snack for him. I will be in my office for the time being. He's upset, Jeanist heard Izuku murmur as he closed his door. Izuku, he sighed in the confines of his office. Sitting down at the desk, he sighed and powered up his computer. There was only about 2 weeks left in the current school year, and all the students seemed to have a need to prove that Izuku was nothing and to prove their superiority over him. What a nightmare. As he looked down to the screen, he jolted at the email on his personal account. Only given to a few heroes. Clicking it, he raised a brow as he saw it was Sir Knight, another cryptid of the community and a bit of a recluse. Even though he did come to the meetings about Aizu, he was still a recluse. Now that he remembered, he was All Might's confidant for years until their breakup. Now what did he want? Izuku sighed as the sidekicks of Jeanist's agency tried to get the name of his attackers out of him while another made his afternoon snack. His mother was now taking on more obligated hours, but she admitted they were attempting to use her to get to them. Should it get worse, she may have to quit. Izuku, Jeanist called, coming out and striding to him. Get dressed, we are heading to Tokyo. Tokyo? He jumped, confused. Yes, Sir Knight, I wishes to speak to you, he told the boy as he grabbed the other's coat. Something about smacking some sense into All Might, he shrugged. We're going to All Might's office in Tokyo, he screeched, the other flinching at the volume. Really? Yes, come on. He ushered the now-existed boy to the car waiting for them. Just his phone rang, and as he buckled in he cursed at the name on it. Eraserhead. Yes, he sighed, already knowing where the line of conversation could be going. You realize he has an appointment today, right? Eraserhead's dull voice asked as he shuffled with something on the other end. He can't miss one. I know, Jeanist groaned, cursing the circumstances. Night Eye contacted me and wanted Izuku to speak to All Might about what he talked about on Mick's show. So, Eraserhead demanded. He also stated that he was in contact with Endeavor recently in the Hall of Records, in the M section, he whispered. Preferably am I, he hissed. I'll get someone to pick up Ms. Midoriya. Get him to All Might's agency as fast as possible, even if he wants to prove he's the best and have Izuku preach it. He won't make a ruckus in All Might's agency, Eraserhead said. What about Sakura? That woman was basically all heroes, barring Endeavor, grandmother, so they rarely used her last name. She'll understand, Eraserhead sighed. I have a feeling I may have to ask Nizu for protection for the Midoriyas. Endeavor doesn't take slander to his name too well. Alright, I'll update you on the situation as it goes along, Jeanist said, looking at Izuku. Don't let him get overstimulated. He's used to loud people in groups of 3, but they were children. Endeavor and All Might are worth about x8 that amount. He's just getting used to people being loud around him for happiness and not anger and disgust. His autistic mind can't comprehend the change, Eraser warned, Jeanist nodding. I know, he whispered, looking as Izuku began to rock back and forth slightly, one of his stims. I'm sure Night High knows as well, so we may be fine, he assured the other before hanging up and looking at Izuku. He still had so many scars, bruises and horribly healed broken bones from doctors that didn't care. God, why did this happen to the best of people? With another sigh he opened his messages and kept everyone up to date. No secret that aside from Hawks for whatever reason, they all hated that arrogant prick Endeavor. He simply rubbed them the wrong way far too many times for it to be natural, and they knew he just loved to pick a fight when something hurt his ego the wrong way. God, what a mess. So big, Izuku breathed as best Jeanist lead him by the hand. Sure, he wasn't a toddler, but with the threat of Endeavor they'd need to be careful. Not to mention Izuku was small for a kid his age and had a naturally small presence. Years of bullying. God, he hated bullies. Serum Knight, Izuku called, the bespectacled man turning away from All Might and smiled. He insisted that Izuku merely call him Night Eye. Apparently Izuku even knew his real name, because in a way they were similar. Izuku, he called, coming over and kneeling down. I know I called you here to speak with that blonde moron who can't fill out his paperwork on time for the life of him, he said, ignoring All Might's, hey. But I actually have another reason why, he told the boy, Jeanist stiffening before looking back. Do not leave All Might's side for the next few hours. Okay? What's going on? Izuku whispered, eyes wide as he realized he's in danger. Stay by him until I come and get you, he told the boy. Jeanist. He jerked his hand and the other hero patted the fluffy head before following the former sidekick. You must be young Midoriya Dash. I'm in trouble, aren't I? Izuku asked, turning to the no. Why would you assume that? He asked, kneeling down beside the small boy. God, Night Eye was really desperate to protect this kid if he came to All Might, not to nag him for a successor, but for help. How do you know that it isn't something they are overreacting about? Because Endeavor's ego is about as big as his bank account, Izuku smiled, the older pro chuckling. And he can't stand slander his fame or risk someone ruining his chance for number 1. DMN, Toshinori thought. He is perceptive. You're joking, right? Hawks asked as Eraserhead told him of the current problem. He's gonna try and get custody over Aizu just to change his mind about him? Sure, I respect Endeavor and all, but Inko is the kindest woman in the world. She provides all she can. Izuku is well known outside of the hero community as Mikun, the kid who gives heroes so much inspiration that they become well known. Any hero worth their salt listens to his suggestions and become better because of it, Eraserhead explained as he looked at his phone, receiving updates on Inko no doubt. You saw the reception of Mick's show when people realized that Mikuin was actually on the show and would become a fixture later on once things got sorted out. Yeah, Hawks sighed, leaning back in his chair. But why is he so determined to get a hold of Aizu? He wants to have his analysis all for himself and have Izuku praising him like the sun comes from his butt? He growled, clenching his phone tight. He planned to talk to Inko personally, but we managed to grab her before he got there. He's coming to Mick's show, 'cause he assumes Izuku would be there. So that we're at Inko's house because? Izuku may not be able to leave All Might's agency for a while, so we're getting him things to entertain himself with, he sighed. Izuku is just in danger for being himself and allowing himself to feel safe. But then Endeavor has to go and mess that up. Yeah, Hawks sighed, thinking on what Sakura said about Izuku when he picked him up from a session. Be careful with that boy. He's on the edge as it is. Should a more powerful negative influence come onto him, he'll most likely either form some unhealthy attachment to it or he'll shut down, she warned him. And neither of those scenarios are something I want. Yeah, him either. USCK at organizing, Izuku said as All Might lead him into his office and he saw the mass of paperwork. This is from 3 years ago. Huh, he flinched at the harsh look he got from the 12-year-old. Maybe you could do it yourself, he said to the other, turning from the mass of paperwork and looking out the window. Oh. All Might chuckled, looking out the window with the boy before he froze. Stay here. He left swiftly, barking at Izuku to lock the door and wait for triple knocks. As the door closed, Izuku rushed forward and locked it as he was told before going into the emergency suit closet and hiding behind the shoe rack. Why did everything that had to go wrong happen? What do you want, Endeavor? All Might asked, face barren of his usual smile. I hear the Midoriya Izuku is here, he smirked. I merely wish to ask him about his analysis of him. After all, he is one of the most famous analysts and only he'd be a valuable member of any agency. Like you said, he's 12, All Might hissed in warning. Now what are you doing here? Like I said, I wanted to talk to him, he huffed. Is that illegal? No, it's not. But without his mother's contest, that IT could be a nasty little blotch on your record, he murmured, the flame hero growling at the threat. Just a moment. Not happening. By that time, it was only the two of them in the lobby, the rest of the heroes frantically trying to find Enji Todoroki and attempting to keep him away from Izuku. Unaware he was already closer than they wanted, All Might tried to stop his annoyance coming onto his face the more he listened to Endeavor. Dealing with him was like dealing with a toddler that was just told no, and honestly, he just wanted to yell at him to leave and leave the kid alone. Maybe threaten him with exposing the tapes of what was happening right now. Endeavor, All Might sighed. Whatever you hope to accomplish with threatening that boy, it won't work. He is nothing more than a child. You should take his advice and not condemn it. Like you're one to talk, he huffed. Are you not angry at the boy for essentially calling you old? He smirked. Aren't you upset that he calls you a hero past his time? No, actually, All Might sighed. I'm not US, so I don't rage when a 12-year-old tells me I'm wrong. You are being recorded, he gently reminded the other, but narrowed his eyes to show the other that he was serious. And you know the ramifications if you get a restraining order on you. I know you have skeletons and I know you are burying them the best that you can, but I am working on unearthing them. He warned. What on earth are you talking about? He asked, his face and voice unwavering in its straight-lacedness. For so long I wanted to ignore those feelings inside of me, All Might sighed. Telling me, warning me, that you were a horrid person. I wanted to believe you were a good person inside, but now. What on earth are you babbling about? He demanded, hand flexing but not moving. You're not all that slick in hiding your hate for me, you know, All Might huffed. And contrary to popular belief, I am not an idiot. It's just easier to fool people that way. I just need to speak to him for a minute, even you could be in the room if you're that scared, he challenged, All Might's hand flexing. No, Enji. Not going to happen. Now leave, he hissed, chest to chest with the no. I don't want things to get dicey. He's nothing more than a quirkless brat with some good analysis skills, he shot back, All Might clenching his jaw. Why are you so protective? Once more. Leave, he stressed. I'm not telling you again. Enough of this, he huffed, stepping back and moving to walk past the no. That was a mistake though. All Might had grabbed his shoulder and flung him back to the entrance door, the other hero back up as quick as a flash and glaring at the no. He made a move to go forward again, but stalled at the fighting stance All Might took. You're being unreasonable, Endeavor huffed, before his face lost its smirk. All Might was being serious and he was ready to smack down in his own agency. No, I'm protecting a boy from an but like you, he growled, his face devoid of that stupid grin. Now I get lost before I call the Hero Commission and things begin to get really ugly for you. He won't always be under your protection, you know, Endeavor sniffed as he relaxed, but he cursed when All Might didn't. He's going to have to learn that quirkless people aren't worth much. I say that boy was in the right. All Might lost it. Get the F out of my agency, he roared, rushing to the hero who merely moved to block the punch delivered to his face. How dare you say such a thing to my face, you rat-faced bee? We are heroes, but we are the faces for the future generation to follow. Endeavor gasped at the uppercut to his jaw and groaned when his back hit the ground painfully. He had no time to retaliate as his collar was grabbed and he was face to face with the world's best hero, filled to the brim with pure rage. Get out, and I swear to God, go near that boy or his mother, you will wish you were dead once I am done with you, he whispered, Endeavor feeling fear for the first moment in his life. People will wonder, Endeavor warned before he left, growling as he did so. What a mess, All Might sighed, looking to his secretary who nodded and went to gather the tapes. Izuku. Without wasting a moment, he rushed off to go to the boy. Izuku flinched when he heard something slam on the first floor, making the rest of the building shake. He could vaguely hear Endeavor and All Might, but in no way could he tell what they were saying. What was going on down there? Were they talking about him? Was Endeavor trying to get to him? Was he going to punish Izuku? Why does it always have to be him? Him that caused the problems. The arguments. The hate. The glares. What did he do? But. Swallowing, he tried to control his breathing as an achingly familiar sense of panic and anxiety swept over him. His skin became clammy and slick with sweat as his face lost all color and eyes began to lose focus. He swallowed and winched as he felt his throat painfully constrict at the action and his head began to feel light, the world swaying from side to side. The familiar lull of pain and disorientation gave Izuku a sick sense of calm and reassurance as he lost feeling in his legs and arms. He fell to the ground as his breathing picked up, the light above him blinding as he tried to gain his bearing once. Shakily he tried to raise his arms but they felt like lead and soon he realized. He felt calm that I in such a state. In the sick sense of dread, anxiety and dim right pure fear, he felt at ease. It felt nice that the pain in his head, the lack of oxygen that he honestly felt right in his comfort zone as the panic washed over him and distorted his view and perception. It would be nice to take a nap. Soon his breathing evened out as the throes of unconsciousness overtook him and he was left on the floor of All Might's suit closet. All Might, Snipe called as he caught up to the hero outside his office door. I got a call about Endeavor being here? Is it true? He told the other, knocking for the third time. I managed to scare him off but he'll try again. His pride won't allow for what Izuku said to stay that way. Demon, the cowboy cursed as he took out his phone to message the others. What are you doing? Izuku was to lock the door and hide, he said, doing 3 knocks for the 4th time. He was to wait for 3 knocks. Izuku, he yelled, knocking again. Izuku, Snipe yelled, both waiting for the meek voice of the child. Dimmin it, All Might cursed as he broke the door with his shoulder and looked around the empty office. Izuku, where are you? Where could he hide? Snipe asked. Under the desk, in the closet where I keep my suit, he said, going to his desk while Snipe went to the closet. Oh God, he gasped, going to Izuku and placing a hand on his neck. Call an ambulance. What happened? He's had a panic attack. Pulse is thready at best. Snipe swallowed, picking up the small boy. Izuku, hey little man, you gotta wake up? They're on their way, All Might whispered as he looked at the pale boy. Young Midoriya? Let's get him down to the lobby and wait. Snipe sniffed as he hefted the boy up into his arms and walked quickly to the elevator. Come on kid, you can hold on, that I know you can, he whispered, the boy murmuring in his sleep. His skin was a sickly shade and was clammy as he choked in breaths, Snipe fearful he had a panic attack in that closet before breathing a sigh of relief at the sight of emergency response when the elevator doors opened. What happened? One of the responders demanded as they had Snipe place Izuku on the cushion gurney. We don't know, All Might admitted as Night Eye and Best Jeanist entered. Oh my god, the fiber hero gasped as he looked at the small and deathly pale boy. Was he attacked? Who knows, he sighed, looking as the boy was hauled away on a gurney. God! Best Jeanist could only watch the boy go, a flash of silvery hair, pale skin and dead eyes making him jolt. Nizu hummed as he overlooked Izuku's medical chart, the hormonal spikes on the graph very worrying to the experiment. As you can see, Sakura, oh sweet Sakura, sighed as she kneeled down beside Nizu. This is a normal person's adrenaline, cortisol, norepinephrine levels, when stressed, anxious, or in a panic. This is Izuku's on a normal day, she pointed to the clipboard in Nex's hand. They are about the same. He's running himself ragged and he doesn't even know it, the principal sighed. And this very worrying graph? Was Izuku when they brought him in. It's actually lower than they believe due to the fact he was passed out when they did the tests on him, she sighed, getting up and miming at the ache in her bones. Not only will Izuku need special schooling, he will need something to deal with this worrying amount of stress and anxiety that plagues him. Nizu sighed as he placed the clipboard down and looked at his soon-to-be protege. Perhaps? Forgive me. I need to speak with Miss Midoriya. Nizu left before Sakura could say anything, the woman sighing before sitting down next to the young boy and grabbing his hand. Why did the best always suffer the worst? You might want to hear this, Eraserhead murmured as he stopped his boss. Seems like the brat's mother came to talk to Inko about Izuku. I am just saying, Inko. What the hell has Izuku done now to get all these heroes' attention? A brash blonde, no doubt the boy's mother, demanded as she rounded on the small woman. Oh, Mitsuki, that this isn't the time dash. Please just tell me so I can shut Katsuki up, the woman begged. He's going on and on about Deku this and Deku that and I just want him to stop. Deku, Inko whispered and Nizu smiled. You know those boys have nicknames for one another and dash. A nickname meaning useless is neither cute of innocent Mitsuki, Inko barked out, the other jolting at the tone of the soft-spoken woman. Unless Katsuki can change his ways, I don't want to speak to you. Not until I can see he's changed. Inko dash. No. I have sat by long enough and allowed Katsuki to hurt and bully Izuku to his whims. And I am done, she snapped. Now please, leave before I have them make you. Mitsuki swallowed as she looked at all the shifting heroes and nodded to Inko, her face pulled into a frown as Inko walked away from her, not bothering to look back at her in the whole time she did. Things really have changed, huh? Ms. Midoriya, Nizu called the woman, turning the other as she walked over. I have pressing concerns about Izuku and would like to go over them with you. Of course, she nodded. She had a feeling about what they wanted to talk about. I am willing to any suggestion. Wonderful. First, I think I have a boy who can be Izuku's friend. Best Jeanist came to me with the idea and... A week later Izuku found himself in Best Jeanist's house, the hero in his casual clothes and staring down at the sickly boy with a small smile. Hello Izuku, he murmured, closing the door after Mrs. Midoriya came in. This is my son, Kaze Hakamata. The boy was thin and the same sickly shade that Izuku was, his eyes averted as he leaned away from his father's touch, not out of embarrassment but out of fear. The hero sighed before turning to Inko with a smile. Pardon his lack of chatter, he settled for. He's not one for talk, not since his mother, well, I think you should show him your games, Kaze, he murmured to the boy who nodded, still not saying a word to his father. He reached his hand out of Izuku who gently took it and the two went to the living room, Tsunaga motioning Inko to follow him. Is there something, pardon for the word, wrong with Kaze, Inko asked gently as best Jeanist grabbed a couple mugs for the tea he was making. I'm sure you've heard of the villain Windblade, he asked, picking out a tea. Yes, she terrorized her hometown and branched out to Tokyo to continue her reign. She crippled many people, but that was due to the abuse she suffered at her parents' hand. Inko nodded. Not just her parents. Her whole town. They felt as if her quirk was dangerous and wanted to beat it out of her. She was never treated for her psychological damage and that her family had a history of mental illness, and due to all that piling on top of her, he sighed. She suffered a break to her psychic and went on a rampage that I managed to bring it down. Windblade is Kaze's mother, Inko caught on. Yes, that I never considered it a scandal, though I love her with all my heart, he admitted. She does for me as well, but she will never come back. Because of her crimes? No, those have been pardoned. That experts stated that while in her break she assumed that everyone attempted to hurt or kill her, and she never really killed anyone, just crippled, as horrible as it is. And she ran away when she was PR'd in tea with Kaze, he sniffed, placing a cup of steaming tea before Inko. Did she have him on the run? Hero's orders were to capture her before she gave birth. Everyone knew it was my child, he admitted, leaning on the counter. She was caught a full year after giving birth to Kaze without any aid from a hospital. It made her condition worse, didn't it? Inko asked, looking down into the cup. Severe. PSRTM depression and anxiety. Her psychological state was worse, but Kaze was well cared for. She turned herself into Eraserhead the moment he entered the apartment, he sniffed. But at the moment she was told that Kaze would be given to me while she healed, she fully broke and tried to kill herself. Oh. She's in an intensive care facility and Kaze merely wants his mother. I'm afraid I've ruined his image of me, he admitted. How? Inko settled for. Well, the first facility I put Yui in, she was beaten and the heroes on call to protect the place merely allowed it. He witnessed on once and I wasn't there. He assumes I allowed it and knew about it. He grinded his teeth and tried to hold back his tears. Yui is the love of my life and I would never wish that on her. Never. Now I have a son that refuses to speak to me or so much as go out into the sun. Not to mention, he has some developmental problems, Inko guessed. Or anxiety? He's in the same boat with Izuku in a sense, he admitted, sighing as he placed his cup down and ran a hand down his face. Severe anxiety, stress. He has a mild form of depression. Selective mutism. He is on the fast track to being an agoraphobic, and me being a hero takes me away from him, he raged, but kept his voice down. Tsunaga, you do what you can and I am sure he will understand that, Inko tried to reassure the hero. I can watch him when you're away, that I am sure Izuku can help him too. I hope so. I want my son to enjoy time with his father, that despite what he may think, I do love him and I do want the best for him, he admitted. I love my son and his mother more than anything. I am sure. Hours later the Midoriyas left, Izuku smiling lightly to Kaze, who returned the gesture and went back inside the moment he could no longer see the Midoriya's car. You have fun? Tsunaga asked, getting a nod from Kaze before he went back to tidying up. He allowed his boy to have any gaming system he wanted. The online games were allowed in his room with the multiple compute screens, but any console had to be either in the study or the living room. To which he agreed, much to Tsunaga's relief. He knew it was a mistake to give him a mini fridge, but he didn't want him to starve, that even if he tried to get the consoles in his room. After placing the dishes in the sink, he went to tidy up the couch and sat down with a huff, enjoying the feeling of being tired after cleaning up after two 12-year-olds. It was a nice feeling despite the mess. Father. He whipped his head up to look at Kaze, the boy's silvery hair falling over his eyes, and he shifted in his place. Why, yes, he swallowed. He yelped when Kaze jumped on him, hugging him tightly and crying into his shoulder, Tsunaga hugging his son lightly. I love you too. I'm sorry I'm not the son you want, he sobbed into his father's shoulder. No, you're the best son a hero can ask for, he whispered, pulling him closer. And maybe one day, the mother can be here with us as well. Kaze merely sobbed into his shoulder. Did you have fun, Izuku? Inko asked when they got home, the boy nodding as he pointed to the TV, and she nodded. He smiled before rushing off and turning on the hero news before rushing to grab his notebook and begin writing. Things were rough, but soon it would be behind them. Hopefully. It turns out that Izuku and Kaze were what one another needed. They became fast friends, enjoying time with one another, and Hero Community met the very elusive son of best Jeanist, the boy hiding behind Izuku most of the time, but sweet nonetheless. But there was the problem of Izuku's anxiety when being away from his fast friend, and weirdly enough, Nizu was the one to offer the idea. An emotional support animal. A dog, preferably, he smiled, before placing his cup down in the saucer. Izuku and Kaze were currently enjoying his rather large collection of pre-quirk movies and comics. Currently they were in a heated debate about which family was better. The Super Family or the Bat Family. Poor Kaze, he failed to see how superior the Bat Family was to those hard-headed morons. But back to the conversation at hand. That would be a good idea, but our complex does not allow animals. Emotional support or no, Inko sighed as she placed her cup down dainty. Which brings me to the other problem I wish to address, Nizu sniffed. After the stunt that Endeavor tried a month ago that we've taken precautions, but he still has moles we have yet to weed out, he began, Inko nodding and flinching at the memory of how she quit her job. Yes, and then there's the fact of people attempting to befriend Izuku to get to the heroes. Thank God school got out 2 days ago, she murmured, breathing a sigh of relief. Yes, considering Izuku is going to middle school now, I believe this to be an opportune time, he smiled. I think that you should be employed here as a nurse. Recovery Girl is getting older, and while no means slowing down, she does many charity events and is often gone. And Aizawa likes to teach his students a harsh lesson, he giggled, Inko doing so as well. While I would gladly accept, I have to make money to keep the apartment or find somewhere cheap that accepts animals, she sighed. Well, All Might's complex is both safe and close to you. I am willing to help with payment until your paycheck can accommodate for your living, he assured the woman, holding a paw up. Izuku is smart, despite his quirklessness. And if things are left the way they were, ms. Midoriya that he'd have killed himself, he told her bluntly, the woman nodding as she knew. I'll need to schedule an interview. Done. I am more worried about the animal you are going to get, he said, the woman sighing as she realized, of course. She would not have left that day without accepting that she would move into All Might's complex. Hakamata-san was talking about going to a service animal adoption center to get one for Kaze. The boy is getting better, but he's still so shy, Inko fretted. And he's so skittish. Kaze was a sickly child, not only in appearance, but in actuality. Both physically and mentally. His stress levels messed up his body chemistry and hormones so much that he was constantly vomiting and sleeping, and was on medication until they could even out. He had seizures every now and then, taking medication to stem the worst of them and medication for whatever else he needed. Then his agoraphobic tendencies. More than a few heroes were worried for the duo, and they had every right to be. Wonderful. Now as for your move. The boys were blissfully unaware. Father, Kaze asked him as both of them and the Midoriyas entered the adoption center a few days later. Why are we here? He was still hesitant to speak with his own father. Many of the heroes who were guarding them felt their hearts shatter at his fear. I was thinking maybe you should have a companion to come home to when you're not with other heroes or the Midoriyas, he said, kneeling down to be face to face with his son. And you could learn how to be really responsible too. Oh, he nodded, curling in on himself as he looked at the signs leading to the various support animals. Snakes, dogs, birds, cats, turtles, ferrets. Come on. Tsunaga led his son to the dog area, but Kaze surprised his father by tugging on his sleeve and pointing to the area that had the sign cats. I want a cat, he swallowed, everyone jumping at the demand. It wasn't the fact he demanded a cat instead of a dog, just that he demanded anything. His father always got him anything game-related that he looked at for more than a minute and any game he showed an interest in for more than a day. It was progress. Okay, he nodded. Okay, let's head in while the Midoriyas look at the dogs. Can we see the cats with Kaze? Izuku asked, the heroes smiling at the boys' reluctance to be apart. Of course, she nodded, the four of them heading it before Aizawa slipped in, ignoring the laughs from his friends and the calls of Catman. I am knowledgeable of many breeds, he sighed, blushing at the two's giggle before motioning him to follow the boys. I'm suing the Heroes Commission, Tsunaga murmured, Inko jolting when he admitted that, his eyes never leaving the boys as they pet the cats. Yui was nearly raped in her facility. I got there the moment they pinned her down. I ended up destroying most of Hall, he pursed his lips. She's been receiving unethical treatments. Electric shock treatment, pressure release, and God knows what else. Tsunagu. I failed her again, he stressed, fingers digging into his forearm. I messed up again and I may have lost her for good, he seethed, smiling as Kaze looked up to him with a smile, a tabby in his arms. If she loves you like I know she does, she knows that you didn't know, Inko insisted, the other turning to her with doubtful eyes. Push comes to shove that you can request that a trusted therapist comes to your house and she lives with you. She has gotten better. Yes, she's admitted to her failings and has seen justice against her whole town. But the public's response. He breathed. You have a video of Kaze in his dark moments, record of what to do when he breaks down, right? She asked, the other nodding. Ask him if it's all right to show people that if they think that coming after a boy is all right because of his mother and coming after a mother who the system and people failed, then they are no better than common bullies and villains. I can see where Izuku gets it from, he laughed, Inko smirking before smiling as Kaze came up with a rather fluffy cat. I want her. He beamed up to his father who kneeled down and looked at the cat. Main CN. Good breed, Aizawa commented. She's fully grown, but only a year old. Name's Yoru. Night, Tsunaga laughed, petting the cat before it lightly pawed his hand away and snuggled deeper into his son's tiny arms. Let's go help the Midoriyas pick out their dog and then we can all get the things we need for them after. Okay, both smiled, Izuku rushing forward as Yoru was rather big. Big shock when she jumped out of Kaze's grip and rubbed against his legs, heading to the dog door while Kaze jogged after him, both him and Izuku giggling. What a nice sound, Tsunaga murmured, Inko smiling as she caught up with the two and entered the area. Izuku hummed as he looked at the various kennels, seeing all the different dogs there and their fluffy faces, but none felt that right. And Yoru, who was sweet to both him and Kaze, hissed at most of them too. It was important for him to get a dog that would get alone with you, but he didn't want them to fight. Yoru seemed to have enough of following the two boys and bounded ahead, Kaze yelping as he followed his feline friend to a kennel with a rather large golden retriever, who began wagging his tail the moment he spotted Izuku. Izuku quickly looked up at the sign. He was so handsome. Nice slick golden fur, a strong build, and a cute face. Shinrin, Forest, Inko hummed as Izuku placed a hand through the cage and giggled as the dog nuzzled into the too small hand. Before he decided to lick it, causing Izuku to break out into hysterical laughter. Kaze kept his distance, but when Shinrin turned to him and whined, he came forward with Yoru by his feet and giggled at the licks he got as well. He's been here for about 3 years. Good dog, but people are kinda intimidated by his size, the owner sniffed. He's slightly larger than the average for his breed, but that's just genetics. He was ethically bred. A woman had puppies and couldn't take care of them and called me, he assured them. Come on, Tsunaga called. Let's get them the items they need, the two following with their newly acquired animals by their side. This is so nice, she breathed, smiling as she watched the two laugh. This is so much work, Inko sighed as the last of the boxes were placed in her new apartment, 2 weeks after the animals were picked out for the boys. Izuku, sweetie, do you want to start on your room now? Don't forget. All your hero merch goes in your study room, she reminded. That apartment was very large, was all Inko thought as she looked around her new apartment a week later. When in hell's name was Inko ever going to need 5 rooms? Plus a computer room to boot. So, the master is hers, the second and third largest are Izuku's bedroom and study room respectively. The fourth is a guest room and the fifth will be a storage room. The computer den will be just that. So much unpacking. A knock on the door had the tiny woman groaning and opening it with a tired huff before coming face to face with a hero t-shirt too small for the person wearing it. Hello, Ms. Midoriya, All Might smiled, waving lightly as he held up a homemade cake. I come with both a housing warming gift and an offer to help you unpack. Oh, thank you, she breathed in relief as she overlooked the large amount of boxes. I will handle my room, but if you could help Izuku with his room and study? Of course, I'll put this in the kitchen, he nodded, Inko smiling as he shuffled in and pet Shinrin, the dog barking happily before going to the couch and plopping down on it like the lazy thing he proved to be when not on duty. Izuku, my boy. I am here to help you unpack, he laughed, Inko giggling at his catchphrase before Izuku ran in and smiled happily. Really? He asked, looking hopeful. Indeed. Now, room or study first? My room, he smiled. I can't reach the washer to wash my sheets. Then let's get to it, he smiled, allowing the small boy to lead him to the washing room as Inko went into her own. Now, she huffed, placing her hand on her hips. Unpacking, she groaned, going limp before shuffling over and opening a box with a heavy sigh. I hate moving. All Might could only GG at the sheer amount of merch of him, and wondered how the hell the kid was calm around him. Because he was certainly a fanboy, if the amount of hero stuff was an indication. My boy, I'll be in the study hooking up the computer all right. You have everything you wanted on the top shelf now, right? He asked. Up. Thanks, All Might, he smiled, the other ruffling his hair before moving to head out. As he passed by the master, he heard the whine of a dying animal, and he knew that sound. Hate moving? He asked as he knocked, opening the door as he did so. If someone had a quirk to do this for me, I would pay whatever they wanted, she hissed, All Might laughing lightly as she fumed. Indeed, that would be a wonderful quirk, he assured her, gently taking her elbow and leading her to the kitchen. How about some tea? Wonderful, she sighed, looking into the hallway as Izuku mumbled about how he wanted to decorate the rooms. Man, I hate moving, she ummed, looking like a put-out child. Well, most can say the same, he laughed, placing the kettle on the stove. Are you tea bags already put away? He asked. Yeah, next to the spice cabinet, she murmured, leaning back slightly as she pulled out her phone and jolted at the sheer number of texts and missed calls from Best Jeanist. Oh. She went to be listening to a voicemail before frantic knocking had her and Izuku jumping and All Might holding them back as he walked to the door. Looking through the peephole, he pet his head confused and opened the door, yelping as it was roughly pushed open and a frazzled Best Jeanist came in. Inko, you didn't answer me and I need answers. Is Kaze here? He begged, Inko getting a horrible sinking feeling in her gut. No, we've been unpacking all morning and afternoon, she whispered, Best Jeanist looking like the world slipped out from under his feet. He's missing that I can't find him, he cried, breathing harshly as All Might tried to calm him. His room is trashed and my son is gone, he yelled, falling against All Might who lead him to the couch. Mama, Izuku asked, the woman jumping before turning to a shell-shocked Izuku. Kaze? Go back into your room, you hear me, she ordered the boy, nodding as tears pooled in his eyes. I asked this because I talked about Zachan and had him on Present Mix show, he sniffed, all the adults freezing at his train of thought. No, Izuku, not in the slightest, he assured the boy, swallowing as fear threatened to consume him again. Please just don't blame yourself. We'll find Kaze, All Might assured Best Jeanist and Izuku. I promise. Kaze was scared. These men they broke into his game room and they hurt him, like any kidnappers would do, but they also took his medicine with him. Did they know him? Can't fucking believe that our boss is making us take Jeanist kid, one murmured as Kaze listened through his addled haze. They weren't in a car, not anymore at least, they had driven quite far, but not they were walking in the alleys toward a couldn't tell you. He's the son of a no-good villain that pleaded insanity, the other huffed, growling at the boy. But he's close to Izuku Midoriya and might be able to sway him into working with the boss if we can convince this brat. He slapped the back of Kaze's head, where they hit him, roughly. That brat already has enough bad things to say about our good boss, he needs to be taught the truth. Bad enough that this kid is becoming like that annoying brat. Still, the other hummed. If this kid refuses, what will happen? He can't just go back home? Nah. He's gonna be sent with his beach of a mother, the other laughed before they froze. Oh, might the sidekicks of Endeavor have come into my grasp and I have gotten some very interesting information, a chilling voice growled, the two cursing. I originally had come to speak with both Izuku Midoriya and Kaze Hakamata about their opinions on heroes, but it seems like I need to take care of filth. Endeavor merely wants these uneducated kids to stop spouting lies about him, one tried to argue before he yelped, dodging a blade swipe. But then went stiff and fell to the ground. The one holding Kaze fell too, but the boy was caught in another's arms. Why, you, the boy murmured as he looked up to the hero killer Stain. You look like you have a concussion, he sighed, placing the boy gently on the ground. I'll get you to safety. I just need to take care of these rabble, he murmured to the boy before taking out a blade. My medicine. It's in one of their bags. The boy coughed as he began to shiver slightly. The hero killer hummed in response before stabbing each man, killing them without much remorse before taking the bags and going through them, raising a brow at the anxiety medication. Grabbing the bottle, he skimmed it before taking out a small pill and the water bottle from the bag. Kid, he murmured, the boy looking at him a bit lost before taking the offered pill and allowing the other to help him with the water. The closest hero agency is Ida 10. I'm going to bring you there, he told him. Why, you'll get arrested though, he murmured, the hero killer looking at the boy's frail body. Windblade, you was a friend of mine, he said. She kept me hidden when I began my vigilante days and even when I was a villain. Being arrested is all right by me right now if it allows me to ensure her only son does not die in my presence. He hoisted the boy up and began the trek to the hero agency. Those guys from Endeavor that they've been watching Izuku and I closey for a long time? He mulled over the thought. So, Endeavor was willing to intimidate and hurt kids, huh? Anything concrete you know? I don't like my father worrying about me, so I erased the video of them scoping out our yard, but I backed it up to my computers, he murmured. Tech-savvy one aren't you? Stain commented as he beheld Ida 10. The boy murmured, head lolling to the side. Given the fact he was hit over the head, dragged over God knows where and just had a serious panic attack stopped. Stain didn't blame him for being a bit loopy. Let's get you back to your father. Sir, Enjima asked as Tensei groaned. If he was paying attention he'd have seen she looked both scared and confused. Kaze Hakamata has been kidnapped, been missing for about 9 hours and we have nothing, he huffed, like it was all a bad joke. Izuku is already in a rough spot and God knows what will happen when we get Kaze back. Sir, we have a bit of a problem, Enigma whispered, the other raising a brow before getting up. What type of problem? The hero killer Stain is here in our lobby, she began before yelping as Tensei got up to confront the other. But, he has Kaze Hakamata. He found him and he has some very interesting information. Tensei tore through the halls of Ida 10, coming to a stop when he saw the hero killer sitting down talking softly with a pale and trembling Kaze, who was cradled in his arms. He looked up when Kaze pointed to him and pursed his lips before moving to place Kaze out of his grip. To everyone's shock, he held onto the man and glared at him, the hero killer sighing before reaching into his pocket. Everyone tenses and Tensei weighed the options of him rushing and grabbing the other, before he saw what Stain took out. It was a voice recorder. Gently he released Kaze's grip off of him and went to Tensei, handing it over to the hero. You'll find that very interesting, he told the other. And you might want to keep this on the down low. What is on this? Proof that Endeavor should not be a hero, he hissed, Tensei feeling as if the whole world crashed on him. Endeavor did this. He murmured, others gasping as Kaze nodded. Get him to medical, he turned to Stain. Come with me. We need to talk. Fine by me, he grinned, malice dripping in his voice. I'll happily drag down that bastard. Tensei stayed silent. Kaze, Tsungao cried out as he rushed to his son, pulling him close and sobbing into his small shoulder, kissing his temple as he whispered his thanks to God and anyone else that happened to be listening. Dad, he murmured, holding onto the tall man tightly as he stared at the ground. Zachan, Izuku murmured, turning to his friend before smiling lightly and waving. Hey, Tensei murmured as he entered a dark shadow behind him as he looked conflicted. So that the one who found Kaze, he's like a little brother to you. I don't care who he is, my son is right here. Oh my God, he breathed, Kaze turning to Tensei before looking at Stain. Who is he? Me. Every hero who had come after Tensei texted them about Endeavor's involvement tensed and turned as Stain came out from the shadows. Kaizome, Tsunaga murmured, remembering Yui's rambling about not leaving her baby brother alone too long. I had some medical knowledge, Stain said, averting his eyes. I hid her a week before and after Kaze was born, but she gave me the slip shortly after. Thank you, he murmured before pulling his son close and heading to the side. I have something very important to talk to you all about, he spoke up, motioning to a few heroes. Eraserhead, come on. Let's go, he nodded, leading some of the prominent heroes and Inko into a meeting room. Everyone tenses when the underground hero came face to face with the villain that eluded him for years. Present Mike went to speak before he yelped at the evil smile his husband showed. Good to see you, Kaizome. He hugged the other, the hero killer huffing. I remember you stating if I did anything stupid you'd glock me in the face. I can still do that, he offered before the other pushed him off. He turned to the shocked heroes before giving a curt nod. I am Heroic Enforcer Stain. I'm a secret underground hero, employed with investigating heroes who show questionable activities, he informed them. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a badge. Naomasa grabbed it and looked it over with a critical eye before confirming it was real and Stain was telling the truth. But the people you killed those happened to be the times I allowed agents from the commission to follow me on arresting the heroes, he sighed, taking off his mask. Most of the time they prove to be too feral or have too many connections to risk imprisoning them that I had no say in whether they died or lived. Why share this now? Technically I'm not supposed to investigate Endeavor, but I know he is in the wrong. Even if you sense that something is off, he turned to All Might who nodded and turned to Izuku who tugged on his pants. He's a good guy, he asked, unsure as he looked at Stain. The other merely smiled softly before nodding and turning back to All Might. I am risking both my life and my job to have him arrested, he told the No. They have noticed my meddling and sent me into a few suicide missions that I've managed to get out of, but it's only a matter of time. Well, Nizu smiled as he popped up on Shuta's shoulders. This is certainly surprising, but I feel as if we could use this to our advantage. Of course, you would, Stain sighed, leaning back and crossing his arms. What's your idea? Teach at UA, of course. And live with the Idas. Huh, both Kaizome and Tensei asked. Now that is settled. I have many courses that you could teach Kaizome-san. I understand you have a PhD in computer science and engineering. Very strong ethic on heroic morales and wonderful skill in weapons. Oda perhaps even 3 classes. Wait, what? He yelped, rushing forward to confront the rodent who seemed hellbent on making him teach 3 classes. Wow. Tensei sighed, before realizing how he had to explain this to his parents. Man. You're okay with this, Stain yelled before yelling as he looked between the two. That's Nizu, the shrugged, Stain remembering as to why he never went to a hero school. So what now? Tensei asked. Stain should continue and act as if he gave up on searching on Endeavor, Nizu sighed. I'm afraid that with the evidence that we won't have a case in the slightest. Unless you use the evidence that All Might had gotten when he came after me. Even though legally Endeavor has not a single spot on his record, his public opinion is not very high. Coupled with the fact that All Might would testify on my behalf since I am a minor, that would force people to take notice and care during the case. My protege, Nizu smiled. And we have evidence that Endeavor ordered them to take Kaze, Jeanist murmured, pulling his son close. They could do what you've done against you, Jeanist, Nizu sighed. You publicly admitted to not caring of the scandal, he gave a pointed look to Kaze and Jean-Sit covered his ears. Inko doing the same for Izuku. But you have used your authority to get past the security measures at the hospital Yui was at to have a see with her. How do you dash? You admitted it, Nizu said. You loved Yui more than anything and would always desire her and love her. I see, Jeanist sighed. We can't do anything, Kaizome sighed as he ran a hand down his face. I best get back out and cause more terror. Wait, Jeanist called, the other stopping after he put his mask. Can I get your number? Yui would love to see you again. Me too. I have been doing my own investigation into Endeavor, Tensei asked. I am breaking so many regulations just being here, he sighed, but he already had his phone out. Like that ever bothered you, Eraserhead huffed. Like seriously? Fair enough. Mama, where are we going? Izuku asked when they were following All Might. If Endeavor is dead set on getting you and Kaze, then we'll need all the precautions possible. So I'll be staying at your place, even if it's across the hall. He laughed, taking out his keys and opening his apartment. I just need a few things, he smiled down at the boy. Help yourself to whatever you want, but we'll be at your home so. Take your time, Inko assured. He nodded and went off to his room, Inko sighing as she sat on the couch and Izuku began to wander. His eyes captured everything in the room and he noted the various little changes from the original layout that once was. Something was off. Everything in the house was slightly different than he expected, not by much, but it was mostly the kitchen that made the child a bit wary. Something was off about it. He just needed to open the cabinets and he would find the answer, but that was impolite and Izuku never wanted to be one of those people who snooped. You two ready? All Might asked as he hoisted the 2 gym bags on his shoulders. Of course. Any preference of food? Inko asked. I'm good. I ate before we left to head back and I need to do a systems check on the security here to make sure that everything is in tip-top shape, he smiled. Of course, Inko nodded. I'm making katsudon, she called and Izuku gasped happily, making both adults smile. I could save you a bit for a snack later? That sounds wonderful, he nodded, the 3 of them entering the apartment before he made a beeline for the study room. Izuku, go get cleaned up and then you can help me, Inko winked, the boy rushing off to get washed up. The woman sighed before shaking her head and going to the kitchen. Tsunaga sighed as he looked at his son, the boy silent as he rubbed his cheek, no doubt still feeling the punch the other gave him. Cursing himself, he pursed his lips and thought about moving. Is that true you still see mommed and try to make me siblings? He asked, the other choking on his spit before composing himself. Why your mother can't have any more children? Kaze? He sighed, pushing his mustache hair back. I still go to her because I love her and I love you. He turned to his son who nodded, tears welling up in his eyes. Father dash. I won't deny I have been a shitty father and a shitty person to you in general, he sighed, looking out at the road. But by God do I love you and your mother. I love you too, Papa. And you're not a bad father, you're a hero? I am a bad father because you know why, he asked his son. Why? Because I'm not your hero, he sighed, clenching his hands on the steering wheel. What do you mean they failed? NG yelled as he got reports on the 2 idiots' death. Take the hero killer dash, Vernon began. Damn it, get out of my sight, he huffed, the woman rushing out before his boss really exploded. F dash dot. Now he had to go fucking pay off more people to ensure that his reputation remained flawless. Izuku hummed as he was given his daily workload from Nizu, smiling happily at the work he was given and giggling at how easy it was. All Might merely watched him in awe as he solved each complex equation with ease and laughed at its simplicity. He's amazing, ma'am, he whispered to Inko, who smiled as her son moved to the next small packet. Indeed he is, she smiled, pattering around the kitchen. Young Hakamata is very happy that his mother is coming home, but Jeanist is a bit upset in the fact the media is using them as a martyr for something. All Might sighed. Honestly, I am a bit worried they will do that to Izuku. I will just have to wait and see, Inko huffed before moving to get the chicken out of the oven. Katsuki, the Bakugo boy you've heard about, well, he's been trying to speak to Izuku and things haven't gone well. Huh. Bakugo got upset when Izuku was ignoring him. It seemed as if the heroes have told Izuku to ignore him and he's listened. Bakugo did not take too kindly to that, Inko murmured. We were lucky enough that Manuel was close enough to stop the boy. How did he even find Izuku? You're miles away now, All Might asked, leaning back. He begged his mother to get the information out of me, which I blurted out in a fit of anger, she sighed, shaking her head. Honestly, Katsuki was such a good boy. Now. Young Izuku has Kaze and I am sure he will make plenty of friends in the future, All Might assured the woman. Oh, I hope so, Inko sighed, the man smiling as he sweat dropped at Izuku giggling at another complex problem. Or simple, depended on who you asked. Hello. Izuku smiled as he entered the US to hand in his word to Nizu. Mr. Secret Agent? He called to Kaizome, who looked annoyed. Oda, what are you doing here? Work, he smiled, showing him complex equations to the adult who hummed. You thought about computer equations? Huh. Binary encoding. I have a computer degree so I can teach you, he shrugged. Really? He asked, and Kaizome sighed before nodding and ushering him off to Nizu, who he excitedly began to ask about coding. Ah yes, Nizu nodded. Well, I think you should ask him. But for now, let's go over your work and see how things are, he smiled, Izuku nodding happily. Having a student like Izuku was really a treat. Oh, can we go in here please? Izuku called his mother as they passed an advanced bookstore. It would be easier to get the advanced books Izuku required for his schooling. Oh, Inko sighed as she looked at it and then groaned at the list. Commend her for insisting to buying the books herself. Mrs. Midoriya? The voice made he jump as Izuku cried out, Hawks. So many people were staring at them. Oh hello, she smiled, the vain hero smiling as he looked at the list and then the store. I can help, he brightened happily. I have more money than I know what to do with and I really want to spend time with Aizu. He looked so desperate. I won't be able to repay you thought. Consider if a gift to Izuku, he smiled. Besides that I don't want to head back to the hero's commission, he looked so depressed. Don't leave Hawk's side, Inko told her son, the hero snapping his head up with a bright grin as Izuku nodded happily. I will be in the clothes store. Izuku needs more PJs and some nice dress shirts. If you leave the store, text me where you're going and stay on this floor. Come on. Before she decided to drag you clothes shopping, Hawk's whisper yelled, Inko chuckling as that got a giggle out of Izuku and they rushed into the store. Inko held up the list as Hawks sent a feather back to grab the list before the door closed. Shaking her head, she glared to the gawking people before pushing past them and into the clothes store. They would spend the better part of an hour in the bookstore, both the clerk and Hawks stunned by Izuku's knowledge and his thirst for more. Bonus is that they would get discounts if they came back. Hawks hummed as he and Izuku left the bookstore, his workbooks bought and would be delivered to the apartment complex that day. Along with all the other books Izuku seemed to be interested in. So, what games you play? He asked, kneeling down beside the kid as they stopped by a fountain. What console do you like? Or are you a computer type? Huh, he asked. Gaming? Console or PC? He asked, having a bad feeling. Me and Mama never had enough money to buy stuff like that, he sighed. So I read and wrote a lot. Then let's go get a gaming system that I heard Kaze is a big gamer and if you want to go up against each other it's better in your own turf, he winked, but it seemed to make Izuku anxious. That's so much money though. The system and the setup and in the games. And you already got me all those books. Izuku looked like he was about to cry from the mere thought of all of Hawk's money. But the hero merely shook his head. Hey, consider if a gift. Besides, I want to have something to do with you when I can't come over, he smiled, praying the kid would let him. Are you sure you want to pay? Izuku murmured. Come on, let's go. Hawks grabbed Izuku's hand before rushing off to the gaming store, unaware of what the next few hours would do. Yui, Suganuma breathed as the love of his life, the mother of his child and downright beautiful woman, entered their home. Their home. That was so nice. Sue, she cooed, accepting his hug and smiling toward Kaze who has his cat in his arms. Mama, he sniffed, the hero stepping back as the woman kneeled down and embraced him. Papa, Kaze turned to Tsunagu who jolted before holding back tears as he entered the hug and pulled both of them tighter. Come on, he murmured to the both of them. Let's head inside and get situated, he murmured, ushering them deeper into the house as Yui hummed and ran her hand through Kaze's hair. Yet most of his son's looks came from his mother with the matching silver hair that glowed in the light and silvery eyes. Mama, see my room, Kaze called, the woman nodding as she followed the boy and kissed the hero on the temple before heading up. Tsunagu smiled before ensuring that they were both upstairs and pulling out his phone. Kaizome, she's here. If you want to speak with her, come on down, he told the other before ending the call. He knew Kaizome would come. Heading up the stairs, he groaned as Kaze was trying to show his mother his gaming achievements and how he was trying to teach Izuku how to play. She nodded. Kaze, your poor mother can't understand half of what you're saying, he huffed. Well, me either, but that's beside the point, he huffed as his son pouted before nodding and placing his games away as Yui hummed and grabbed a teddy that he always slept with. Yui, he murmured, and Kaze whined as he saw his games were out of order. He forgot about his son's OCD about his items on shelves. Me and your mother will be in our room. I am going to show her the things I got her, all right? He called to his son, who nodded and pulled out his games and began to place them back. Yui came up beside him and he grabbed her hand before leaving Kaze's room and heading up the stairs to the 3rd floor. In hindsight, giving his son something akin to an apartment, but with as many consoles that he has. He needed it. Here we are, he murmured, opening a door to his and Yui's room, chuckling when she gently pushed him in and kissed him. Hey, he murmured. Someone is coming over soon, so we'll do this later, he murmured against her temple. He knew she was pouting, but nodded and began to look around. Sheet, Hawks thought as he came back from setting up the packages of games. Currently a familiar, well, not really, since all he saw were photos. Blonde boy was yelling at Izuku and popping explosions in his face. Izuku looked so scared and was curled up as much as he could. A survival tactic. You better fucking tell those heroes that I am not a bully, 'cause if you don't, the boy warned, I will fucking murder you. That's nice to know, Hawks said as he came forward with a dark face. How about you let my friend go and then we go talk to Tsukachi? How does premeditated murder sound? That will land you to know about maybe the rest of your minor life in juvie? Considering your prior charge. Like hell I will, he snarled, uncaring of the hero in front of him. I am not letting this BS go until he tells you all that what happened is normal and he deserved it, he snapped. And that it's just life for him, he spat in Izuku's tear-stricken face. Sure, Hawks nodded, and Izuku's face was so heart-wrenching that Hawks had to compose himself before continuing. Sure, hurting your own classmate and hurting him so much, then lying to his mother and your mother. Deciding that because he's quirkless that beating his dream out of him is the duty of a wannabe hero. Maybe that's why you've been banned from every hero school in Japan and most likely the world. That's bullshit. You can't do that. He roared, throwing Izuku to the ground, making him yelp before cowering at the boy's anger. Hawks flicked his eyes up and locked eyes with a patrolling Inegnium who took one look at what was going on before zooming forward and grabbing the boy by the back of his shirt. I thought we had a restraining order on you and your family, he sighed as he immobilized the child. Nothing that you do will change what has happened. You will never be a hero. Not until you change. And there is proof of it. I will be a hero. I don't why shitty Deku is lying, he called out, and Hawks grabbed Izuku, who looked so scared. A hero with that attitude will never be well liked. It's not only about power, but also the people who help you, he sighed, the boy snarling as he called Naomasa. Tensei, Inko gasped as she caught sight of the hero before sighing at the boy in his hands. Katsuki. Auntie. Tell them that we were playing, he begged. I can't bear being blacklisted from hero schools for a false lie. I can't bear looking at a boy I trusted to protect my baby and who betrayed me and hurt him. Who was on his way to driving my boy to suicide, she stressed. I don't want you calling me auntie anymore, Katsuki, she sighed. Tensei, I am sure Tenya would be happy to have a new friend, and Kaze and Izuku have been looking for a playmate. I will arrange it with you and your parents. Okay, bye, he waved as Inko ushered Izuku and Hawks off, uncaring of Katsuki's tears. Auntie, he whimpered, yelping at the extra strength that Hiro did when he squeezed his arm. Let's get you home, he sighed, dragging the boy away. I see, Nizu hummed, contemplative as Inko relayed the info. Well, should not be a problem anymore with Izuku spending most of his time in UA as I tutor him. Just keep an eye out. I will, Inko sighed. Katsuki was such a nice boy. Ignore Nat people, my darling Inko, he assured her. I hope to see you in for tomorrow's staff meeting? Yes, she chuckled. Edge Shot promised to babysit and Izuku is so excited. I am sure. Well, have a nice night, he ended the call. You as well. When the line went dead, Nizu hummed before pulling his laptop closer and looking at Bakugo Katsuki's records. Far too clear for his liking. He knew the boy would be able to sweet-talk his teachers in expunging his record or having them vouch for him. Given that there is loads of medical complaints from Inko and her doctor concerning Izuku and large amounts of evidence, they just need witness reports. He dialed a number quickly and smiled when he picked up. Yes, Kaizome's tired voice answered. Hello. I have a favor to ask of you. If you get it done with 2 days, I will allow you to pick what 2 classes you wish to teach and annex the third, he said, and he knew he had the man. What is it? He coughed. I need everything you can possibly find on incident regarding a Bakugo Katsuki physically and verbally assaulting Izuku Midoriya. That's not like a full decades you're talking about, and you want all of them? He asked. As many as possible. Happy searching. Wait dash. Nizu hung up and went back to planning Izuku's schooling. It was nice to have a challenge. Here, Kaizome sighed as he came in the next morning with a large stack of papers. Drop the FING computer class. They are effing teenagers. If they don't know tech, then boo FING who, he snapped. I will be sleeping for the next 4 days as I have been up for the same amount of time. Call me again and I have a new rat fur washcloth. He stomped out as Nizu began arranging a compensation basket. After he got everything from coffee to sleeping aids for the man, he opened the folder and began to compile the case. Hello. My name is Tenya Ida. The boy nodded as he entered Kaze's gaming room. The boy to whom the room belonged to was conked out on a bean bag, while Izuku was making cereal from the mini bar the boy had. Hello. Ignore Kaze, he spent all night gaming and trying to get me in it. He smiled, placing a blanket over the boy. Would you like something to drink? Do you have orange juice? He asked, quietly making his way over. Up. Here you go. He gave him a glass and went to grab the juice. Do you play games? I like puzzles and brain teasers. I want to make sure I get good grades so I can get to UA. You want to go to UA as well? Izuku gasped as the two began talking as Kaze snoozed beside them. Yes. I want to be like my brother. Tenya nodded, smiling happily. Tensei is so cool, Izuku smiled, picking out a custom puzzle they had gotten him. I have a 3D puzzle. I love those, Tenya lit up. Help me. Yes. You were amazing. Tsunagu sighed as he and Yui lay in their bed, confident that the children would be able to entertain themselves for the rest of the day. God, I missed being able to just lay down with you, he sighed. No worries about anything or anyone. She hummed happily. I love you so much, she sniffed, moving to kiss him. They did so lazily, the hero pulling her closer and wrapping his arms around her. When they broke apart, she sighed and laid her head on his chest. You all right? He asked, allowing her to cuddle up against him. She nodded, sighing contently as he held her closer. I don't want more children. Yui, he swallowed. I know you do a dash. Adopt, she stated, and he sighed. You don't have to worry about me having any more children. Are you sure? There was this woman that I in my ward, she murmured. She broke down because her son had a villain's quirk and she tried to kill him. That she told me that she struggled to remember what she wanted to say. She told me that his name is Hitoshi Shinso. I'm sure Kaze will love the company, he murmured, closing his eyes. Tomorrow we will go to his foster home. All right? Of course, she sighed, closing her eyes as well. He's Kaze's age as well, along with Izuku and Tenya. Hitoshi's Shinso ha, he murmured, the woman humming before they both fell into a blissful sleep. Truly sad, All Might commented as he looked through the files that Nizu had Kaizome compile. And Bakugo wanted to be a hero. He may still come to UA in the coming 2 years should he get the therapy needed and adhere to our restraining order, he sighed. He is a very prideful boy that hides a lot of fragility in his heart. But did he need to physically and mentally hurt the boy, he asked, Nizu sighing as he handed All Might Izuku's medical file. I am not sure dash. She wants you to look into it if you are going to be babysitting him in the future. Sakura has prescribed him anti-anxiety medications that he has tried to get out of taking. He said, All Might jolting. And successfully a few times as well. At his age, he gaped. His stress levels could kill a regular person, but his body is young and his tolerance is no doubt going to be impressive in the future. Nexus' ears went down at the sight of Izuku's stress level tests. Kaze is the same way, we're both having them watched for certain tendencies, he admitted, and All Might closed his eyes at the implication. I see, he nodded. You still wish to teach at UA, correct? Nizu asked, reaching for the file back. If so, you can join the meeting for today. Inko is here as well, so you can discuss options as well. Then you can meet Recovery Girl to help with your injury, he stated pointedly, All Might flinching as phantom pain went through him. I see, he nodded. Good, come on. The meeting is in about half an hour. He cheerily called. Thank you once more. Inko sighed as she grabbed the last of her things and turned to Edgeshot, who was helping Izuku, Kaze and Tenya with schoolwork. No problem. Besides, he is having a playdate as well. He ruffled all their heads, getting giggles from the three. They won't be much trouble. And well, they're not really trouble-making children. He didn't notice how they glowed at the praise. Indeed, Inko smiled. Be good for Edgeshot, and no junk food, Izuku. She gave him a stern look as he gave an impish grin. I will see you in a few hours. Goodbye, he called, the door clicking closed before he waited for a moment. He then turned to the expectant children. Tenya gets all the orange and grape candies. Izuku can't have lemon and Kaze doesn't hog the strawberry, he warned, pulling out a rather large bag. And I get the pineapple and coconut. Deal, they all said. Good doing business with you all. Thank you, they all said before beginning the task of dividing their hoard. Such good kids, he murmured. I see, Inko sighed as she placed the files of the returning students back. We have a few children who are repeatedly hurting themselves, so I will deal with them, Chio stated. If you're fine with it, I would have you deal with others. Of course, she nodded. They need to get weaned off your instant healing anyways, she sighed. Ha. You are a great woman, the hero nodded. That's another reason I wanted to have an assassinate. Ha. I know children, she smiled, going to the filing cabinet. Even if my own is nothing like them. How is the tyke? She asked, turning to the computer and booting it up. He and Kaze got some animal stuff, but then that boy. It's been tough, she sighed. He still wants to talk to Katsuki sometimes, and that he cries so much that I am worried that if they ever cross paths without one of you being there, that they'll find a way to meet up and he'll continue to hurt my baby. Poor boy, Chio sighed as she thought back to the first time she met the small boy. He was so small when I met him that he wanted to become even smaller the more people wanted to speak with him. No doubt he is expecting people to hurt him, she sighed, looking down in shame. I tried to protect him and I ended up hurting him. It's not your fault, dearie, Recovery Girl informed her. You wanted to hold onto an age-old friendship that didn't work out in the end. Not too long ago us with Curix were the rarity. I know, Inko sighed, sitting down. My poor boy was tortured for something he had no control over. Inko dash. The door was opened as All Might came in, before freezing at the scene. My apologies. He yelped before Recovery Girl whacked him with a cane. I will come back dash. It's fine. I need to get these files to Nizu anyways. Inko smiled as she gathered a stack and headed out. Nice seeing you. You as well, he smiled before watching as she went down the hall with a bit of a love-struck expression. Oh, get in here, Recovery Girl sighed. Now, let off that disguise and let me see that wound. He sighed as his body deflated and he became smaller and thinner. His face was gaunt and honestly he looked a step away from death. I'd have had things to do, he explained, the woman giving a knowing look as she got up. By things, do you mean woo a certain woman and her child? She asked, the man blushing violently before coughing up blood. Thought so, she huffed. You best be careful if you want to keep up the facade, she warned. That boy is perceptive. All Might thought back when he first brought them over to his house and cursed. He might already have an inkling, he sighed, Recovery doing the same before shaking her head. Serve you right, she stated, kissing him. You best not keep it from the boy any longer. You are his idol after all. Precisely why I have to keep it up, he murmured, the nurse shaking her head as she muttered about block-headed idiots and their dead sense of pride. I will see you later. Yes, yes. She motioned him away and sighed sadly as he took a deep breath before puffing himself up and heading out. He was going to die early if he kept it up. I thought I could trust you, Inko scolded the ninja as she came home to 3 comatose kids with candy over their mouths. Sorry, he didn't even bother to try and save himself. I have video of the 3 of them though, he offered. They didn't destroy anything? Nope. Fine. Consider that your payment, she sighed, the other smiling as he sent the video before getting a hug from the mother and heading out. God, watching those kids get high was hilarious. Inko shook her head before turning to the 3 conked-out children, each settled comfortably on the floor, on a floor of plush pillows. Izuku was resting his head on Kaze's shoulder, who had his arms around the boy as Tenya's head rested on his stomach. It seemed as if Edge Shot tried to cover them in a blanket, but in their strange pile of limbs it would just cover someone completely. They looked well enough. Shaking her head once more, she moved to go clean up the little mess that was left before she had to deal with the inevitable tummy aches. The hell is wrong with you? Tsunagu sneered as he held the matron of the orphanage tight with his fibers. He is not even a teen. And you muzzle him like an animal? He has a dangerous quirk. He'll be a villain no matter w-. It's because of people like you that we become villains, Yui murmured as she gently approached Hitoshi, the boy's eyes glistening with tears as she reached behind him and took the muzzle off. Why? He whimpered, looking at Best Jeanist, who smiled lightly and tightened the fibers on the matron. Because I knew your mother and I want to give you a nice life. She smiled, pulling him into her arms and petting his head. I'll get Naomasa on the phone and then we'll get the papers, he stated. Take him to get his things and then get to the car. All right, she hummed, holding his hand as they walked to the bunks, Jeanist closing the woman's mouth with cloth as she began to rant and rave about the stupidest shit he's ever heard. As they walked down the hall, Hitoshi looked up and was met with a kind smile and thought that maybe, just maybe, he would find happiness. Hello. I am sure you've heard the news of a pocket knockoff posting site is stealing people's works and that many people are going to lock their stories until things are sorted out. I am going to lock my stories as well. If you wish to keep up, then please make an account and tell others of what is happening.